Ning, Keast and McDonald. A great school combination from the Methodist Ladies College. A great run coming for second place. Between MLC Well, a good race for first, second and third. LEichhardt running in fourth place that time with Borrie, Dunn, Bateman and Cadogan. They're in the Masters category, coached by Charles Lloyd Jones. But a good race went on from MLC, Glebe and UTS. And we'll have to wait for the results of that one as they went across the line. They've gone out of sight at this stage. But a great race coming from the schools. That event was race number 4 on the program, starting right on time at 9:20, and that was division number 1. Division number 2 on the line. 4 starters there once again. We can see 3. We can see 3 starters, so we'll hear sooner or later if we've got 1 to go or one's not turning up. But nevertheless, as far as the entries go, in lane 1 on the LEichhardt side of the course, the crew from Abbotsford, which was the old MLC crew round alongside Sydney Rowing Club. Previously it was known as the Sydney Women's Rowing Club, and that goes back many years ago. It came out of Battersea Park of all places. But Abbotsford now represented by Andrea Itzpeshner, Adriana Guthrie, Ya Kai Tang and Catherine Nato. In lane 2 from Des Moines, Julianne Quang, Estelle Fong, Jodie Panagopoulos and Marcella Cox. MLC in lane 3, Ashley Denton, Eve Parker, Rebecca Beaton and Clementine Hendricks. In lane 4 from LEichhardt, Frankie Andrews, Maya Sinkovia, Malisha Zatfiga and Grace Conry, coached by Isaac Shepherd. Isaac's been doing a good job in charge, as I understand, the LEichhardt Junior Development Squad. But it looks like we are 1 down. Well, we're looking into the start now, and no doubt if you are watching on live stream, you'll notice that there are 3 boats out there. We're looking into the sun at this stage of the game, so it's hard to differentiate between the colours. But in their race positions, I'm expecting that lane 1 on the far side, or lane 1 on this side, would be the Abbotsford crew. Des Moines. I'm not too sure whether MLC are there, but LEichhardt is down there in lane 4. They'd be a crew on the far side, I suspect. Well, the wonderful thing about the Iron Cove is it can take up to 8 crews. Yeah, it can take up to 8 crews on this, but they've split the divisions up so that there should be 4. But in this case, 1 has been scratched, and as you can see, they're starting to lose a little bit of separation. That's the distance from one another. In fact, the crew on this side, which would be in the lane 1, that's the Abbotsford crew, are going to have to change their direction. Otherwise, you'll be entertained by a collision with the pontoon here at Leichhardt. But they're starting to straighten up now. But this is a good race. In fact, the entries for this last of the regattas has been particularly good. Well, I can see now this is going to be interesting because there is a coxswain sitting on the boat on the far side, and the boats in the middle of the course, one with the Des Moines colour or Balmain colours or Des Moines colours, that's Julianne Wang, and that don't have a coxswain, nor does the crew from generally better put, 2 of the crews are not carrying a coxswain. This is the women's intermediate quad scull. Now, some of the schools do have the coxswains in their boat. It could be a 4-oared boat, a shell, and you'll find that they provide for an extra one on their rowing program by having a coxswain. Club crews hardly ever use the cox quads, being a little bit more experienced. It's the club combinations, so certainly would be Leichhardt and Des Moines, and probably even include the Abbotsford crew if they're there, that do have coxless boats. So that would explain the difference. Well, for those people watching, we can give you the results of Division 2. Division 1 of the women's intermediate quad scull. First place going to UTS, second to Glebe, and third would go to MLC School, and fourth place to Leichhardt. It's the results of the women's intermediate quad scull. Well, this is going to be an interesting one, and the one in which all those that might be viewing the racing at the present moment would love to see. This is the women's under 16 single scull. There is only the 4 starters. Well-known name there, Kelly Clifton from Pymble Ladies College is in lane 1 on this side. Next to her, Sophie Winhall from MLC School. And then you've got 2 young glebe scullers there. One, Ingai Dive, she's in lane 3, and Jemina Blake. Now, Blake is coached by Nick Galea, and Nick Galea involved there with Oliver Klotz in looking after Inga Deave. So the 4 scullers, and it's a close race for the second place, the minor placings, but there's a young sculler coming down here think she looks like maybe the sculler from MLC School, it might be. Who's probably about 3 to 4 lengths out in front. Being blind as a bat and looking into the sun, I'm unable to see the numbers on the bow of the boat, so I'm taking a guess at where they're in. But that's my ignorance, and I've left my glasses in the car, which is a confession my wife will probably roll me about when we get back home. But nevertheless, Sophia Winnell from MLC School. Looks like she's got a win, a separation there of about 2 to 3 lengths back to second place on this side, which could be Sophie Winnell, and back to third place on this side looks like the sculler from Pimble Ladies, and then the fourth place sculler on the far side would be Glebe, I think. Well, Ingadeve looks like she might be in first place. I'm relying on some comments that are being made behind me. Dear, oh dear, oh dear. Well, it's just the race one for the women's under 16 sculls, and I should mention too that I think the trophies also include and I'm looking for someone to nod their head here, include a cash prize for the best performance by a boy and a girl. That's not together. That's each, and generally it would come from obviously the scullers, and that would take into account their racing here for the previous 3 regattas as well as this one today. And it's a big prize. I think it's in the order of $500. And the best performance by a club over the series, coaching of that, is I think it's $500. So it's $1,000 for the young ones, $500 for the club. That's fantastic, Liam. Unbelievable.
Results for Division 2 of the women's skull on the screen in a second.
Well, I think we've given you the results of the second division of the women's intermediate quad scull. That is MLC School taking the win, followed by Drummoyne, back to Abbotsford, and then finally LEichhardt back in the fourth position. So the top 4, it was the LEichhardt crew, the crew that we did call, they weren't in the starting lineup. So of the 3 crews that remained, first place going to MLC School, second place to Drummoyne, and back in third would go to Abbotsford. And we'll give you the results of the under 16s in just one moment. Well, the next event is scheduled for 9:40, and it's a mix of 2. It's a division of 1, and they are all in the under 16 category. The entries did call for double scull, under 16s, and also in the men's open. So we'll see a mix of those classifications in race number 8, which is scheduled for 9:45. But in this event, we're talking about the under 16 double sculls. Glebe are in the under 16 with Dylan Watson and Will Tarrant. LEichhardt are in the centre with Andrew Gu Luca Wilson, and they're coached once again by Isaac Shepherd. And then the third crew in the event, and that will be on the far side of the course from St. Augustine's, is Jess Bray and Matt Juita. Well, in years gone by, it was the international rule that you can't run a race under the bridge. But yet, I noticed that at the Tokyo Olympics, that they did race under a very low bridge, and everyone managed to get through that. You didn't have to duck if you were rowing in a boat, but it was a little bit higher than you might see from the Iron Cove bridges. But nevertheless, very interesting racing up at Tokyo. Probably a little bit, Australians lost a little bit of interest, but we won't go into the performance of the Australian crews. But they had a few issues, I think, with pulling people out of some of the smaller boats to bolster up the 8. The 8 was seen to be the flagship. It had competed extremely well in its original form at World Cup, World Championship level, but it probably didn't work out the way that everyone hoped. And at the same time, with Peter robbing Paul, some of the smaller boats did not compete as well as expected. So we had great athletes racing, but perhaps decisions that were taken might not have been so fortunate. Well, boats starting to move onto the course, and once again a magnificent day down here. It looks like on the Iron Cove, of course, when it blows up badly, it can come from the west. And at this stage of the game, we've got beautiful conditions racing here today. Absolutely magnificent. The sun is shining brightly, the birds are chirping, and the water is absolutely, it's, apart from a little bit of a wash there from the speedboats, it's flat calm. We've got about 3 large cruiser vessels that you might see in the background, and we've even got a float plane, I think it is, about to make a landing. No, they'll be landing over in the Lane Cove River, I suspect. It's just taking off now. Yeah, there's one float plane that's housed over there in the Lane Cove River. It used to be anyway, and it's flying very low over the bridges. It might even be trying out the new tunnel up there. Well, the crews have been called up for the next event, which is the men's open under 16 double scull. We've mentioned the 3 again. We'll mention those, but I think they are racing at the present moment. We've only got the 2 crews who's dropped out. Well, the umpire's having an interesting time keeping them both apart at this stage. Well, there are. You can see them for yourself. The background over there at Drummoyne, and I'm amazed at live stream, the clarity of the pictures that Liam is sending out to everyone who's listening. We must have about 3,000 people watching it. Oh, that was about 10 minutes ago. You had 100. Well, it'd be up well over 200 now, wouldn't it? Yeah, I think so. 100,000. Takes us back to the old days of the Parramatta River. Well, this is a very close event. I'm just trying to identify, because we are looking into the sun here and it's difficult to see those numbers on the bow, and also to read the colours. Yeah, I've got the tool here. So Leichhardt are there. Crew on the fast. Lane 3 St. Augustine's. I can see the green there. So I think St. Augustine's is Glebe there. So Glebe are the ones that are out. So it's a race now between the young guns from St. Augustine's and the young guns from Leichhardt. And it's a pretty close event. On the angle, they're probably about probably only about a half a length between them as they go past Rhode Island, and with about 350 metres to go, it's a very good close race. Leichhardt rating a little bit higher, and a very experienced combination there from I think that'd be St. Augustine's. And as I said, St. Augustine's were originally training out of the Mossman Rowing Club on the other side of the harbour, but they moved in mass with their international coaches, husband and wife, and I think even the son's involved in coaching now, over to UTS Haberfield under the rowing director over there, which is Tim McLaren. And they're certainly well represented in the representative classifications, no doubt about that. But I was surprised to see Isaac Shepherd's crew so close. Good race went on between Leichhardt number 2 and St. Augustine's. I think on the angle that the race will probably go to St. Augustine's, and Leichhardt back in second place. Well, this is the bigger one. This is the race, the men's open combined with the under 16. So you've got the heavyweights, or the heavies if you like, not the heavyweights, but in the open category. I think they are all in the open category. So it's very close. So the open category complete. From Abbotsford in lane 1 with Willits and Roman. From Leichhardt with Wilson and Richards. From Leichhardt number 3 right in the centre of the course with Sinkovic and Dylan Lee. From Glebe you have Greenwood and Jonathan Nolan. And then you've got, I think, Andrew Mackenzie from Leichhardt with Terry Bridges is racing for Leichhardt in that. He's second out from the far side. And then right on the far side we have Leichhardt's open with Frank McHugh and Anthony Dijnozik. Well, what a great sight here. The 3 leading crews, you wouldn't pick a whisker between them. They're just very close on the extremes of the course. And then you've got great racing going on with the crew right in the centre. Now that could be the crew from, I think, from Glebe, I think it might be. An open category with Greenwood and Nolan. But anyway, racing getting very close. And on this side, well, there's a Leichhardt crew there, and well, Leichhardt might be taking a clean sweep, but I think in the point scores, what you succeed in doing, you win the winning point scores, but then you don't get any points for second or third if you're from the same club. But the advantage is you stop the other clubs from getting points. Oh, it's a funny old world, isn't it? But anyway, that's the way it goes. And I'm told that Leichhardt got first, second and third.
First and second.
First and second. Well, what a great result. I mean, this young fellow, you know, I must say, I've got a bit of passion for promotion of junior development in clubs. And it is very difficult because most of the clubs in Sydney now are community clubs, which means they have a mix of the old and the young. sorry about that, the age, no, I can't say it in a nice way, but people who are perhaps in their 40s and 50s racing in a category known as the Masters, and they're up against the youngsters, and that makes it difficult because some clubs find it difficult to get good coaches to come in and look after the juniors, where it is definitely needed. People just starting off the sport. And can I say, this young coach from LEichhardt has done a great job, Isaac Shepherd. Now, whilst I say that, I'd say congratulations to Glebe Rowing Club, because at this stage of the game they have to be in front in the overall series. And they're the small club that you might have noticed. They originally were down, they're in Blackwattle Bay, which is well away from the Iron Cove clubs, but they are part of the JB Sharp series. But the interesting thing about it is the original shed has now been taken over by a restaurant. It was initially taken over by Sydney University Women's Rowing, but that's all finished now. And so they've taken over a construction shed that was used by the Public Works Department in putting in a jetty very close to their club, which happily it provides them egress from their clubhouse, as the work shed, onto Blackwattle Bay. And they've done a fantastic job round at Glebe. And great coaches round there, and they've survived in spite of all the drawbacks that they've had over the years. And that's been one of the older clubs, started in, I think, in the late 1800s. Got burnt out many years ago, and Blackwattle Bay became famous with the police organisation that had police club, and I think the police rode in 1936, in the 1936 Olympics. And one of Glebe's favourite sons, that's Kim Macney, his dad was in fact in the 1936 Olympic crew. It was a police crew. Well, the next event is the men's double scull, a para double scull. Just have a check on that. But I've only got 2 crews down there, and also we've got got 2 crews. 2 crews, both from a club called Community. Now, Community Club is a new one for those people that might be watching for the first time. Community was spawned out of Balmain Rowing Club, and I think they're now located over in the Lane Cove River on the old shed that was Macquarie University shed. They share with them, and they have done a remarkable job, starting off, as you can imagine, with great coaches like Liam James, Barbara Ramjan, and Liam's mum were coaching people over there to get them on the water with the problems associated with adaptive rowing. They had to bring them all the way down to a Rod Point and walk through the waters there to get them on the water. They didn't have any coaching launches that they could use, so they used to, I think they did have a rubber ducky down there at one stage. In fact, I think they've still got that, or if that's been replaced. But the coaches had to wade out into the water to make sure they got away from Rod Point. And they did a fantastic job. Well, these are the para rowers coming down here now, both from Community. Well, I've just been informed that they've got about 50 members overall, and it's 50% of that number are para rowers. Well, coming down here now in the PR3 classification are James Johnson and Jennifer Emerson, and they're closest to us, and they look like they're the racing leaders at the present moment. And we did so well in para rowing. In fact, I think we got a gold medal at the recent Olympics. And in New South Wales, they were the first crew to get para crew to get competitive. Originally starting off at the International Regatta Centre, then being mainly produced from the Balmain Rowing Club, and now from right across Australia, it's taken on board. So well done for Balmain for leading the show. And there's a list. There was a list of about a half a dozen clubs that now cater for para rowing. But in this particular one, Community with James Jots and Jennifer Emerson in the lead, and they're followed by the second place crew, Eleanor Taylor and Bronte Marshall, who has been a star. Now, Bronte Marshall was...
The other way around. I think Bronte's crew is ahead. They might have swapped the numbers.
Yeah, now Bronte Marshall, she's been around for a while, and she's been a very good para rower. In fact, I think she might have even competed internationally, did she?
Yes, so she's competed at the Global Games, and she also represented New South Wales at the Nationals a couple of years ago.
Well, perhaps I've made a mistake, because that crew, looking on paper, would be the fancied crew, both wearing similar colours, of course, but Taylor and Bronte Marshall would be the leading community club crew, and it's a name that came out of the blue. I think they were originally thought that they might have been moving into Iron Cove, but just a few issues there. I think the local council were putting a swimming pool up there somewhere or other.
Putting a pool over there.
Yeah.
No, the Iron Cove is very much...
Absolutely ridiculous. Fancy having a swimming pool there, right in a rowing course.
Mm.
And who'd want to swim in here? I mean, there's more problems here than probably over at, what's that other place? No, not Paris. Not Paris. I'm thinking about that place that down Parramatta River, where they had all the brake tailings and everything like that, threw them in the river.
Yeah, down at Roads.
Even the Parramatta River ferries take a detour down Victoria Road to keep away from the wild waters up there in the Parramatta River now. Anyway, it's all good stuff. So whilst we're waiting on the results, we've got the results of the para double scull here now, and I don't know whether you noticed on live stream, I think Liam James must have been on the construction group for the Iron Cove Bridge, because we're getting a lot of shots on there. They're interesting shots. I mean, the trouble that they went to line up the piers after objections from all the rowers, because if it hadn't proceeded without the objections from the rowing community, the engineers would have had that splayed. In other words, there would have been alternate piers depending on which bridge you were on, which would have been hopeless. So anyway, they eventually agreed to line up the piers. Now, on some of the shots you might see they're out of alignment, but so far as the course is concerned, those big pylons up there are in line, and it served the purpose very, very well. If you're running late for your race, you could always jump in the boat as you went under the bridge, I suppose. But anyway. Now, here we have the next event, which is race 10 on the program, due to start at just on the dot of 10 o'clock. So just a few moments to go, but this is going to be a very, very good one, sponsored by Viva Energy Australia. And it's over the distance that we've seen races previously here, but this is for the women's novice quad scull. And the rules provide that if you're in the novice classification in this regatta, you have never faced a starter before, or you've never won a race. Well, if you win the race, you're no longer a novice. You move up to the next class, which might be intermediate, or in more modern times they refer to that as maiden class or third grade. But this is an interesting one, because this will have Natasha Khan, Katrina Sleeman, Sue Min Riggs, and Natasha Lindsay Lobo. And as it's North Shore, I don't know whether they'll have a coxswain in the back of the boat. So this could be one of those club boats. And Glebe, I don't know whether Glebe have coxswains. So this could be a difficult one for young starters, both from North Shore and Glebe. We'll wait and see what happens as they approach Rhode Island, because if they don't have coxswains, it relies on their steering in the women's novice quad scull. And as you can see, the promotion of young people starting off on the sport is at the forefront of the LEichhardt Regatta. As we can see in this quad, we have a crew from North Shore and Glebe, the young ones, and in the men's novice single scull, which is to follow, you've got 3 scullers there from Glebe, and they would not have raced before. Well, there's no doubt about it. The promotion of this particular regatta, it's a pity that it's squashed between now. Rowing has got such a broad audience and a broad competition that the end of one season almost carries on with the start of the following season. And the LEichhardt, the Winter Series, is right in the guts of both of them. And also in competition, of course, is the head racing. I think North Shore Head and the Hawkesbury River have been hosts to some of the racing that's been going on. Hey, Steve.
Virginia just let me know. I'm not going to kick anyone else out. Apologies. As we're going to.
What's that?
After the last event.
Yep. Which race is that in?
No, it's not on calendar because it's not official. So it's right at the end. We did it last
Oh, it's right at the end.
Yeah, I don't know why it didn't make the calendar. It should have been on there. No, that's right. But just give me a call next time. I'll sort it through. There you go. I'll give you. You used to be coming back, or I
think he's coming back shortly, yeah.
So what's happened with the pontoon? You've got some. Well, we actually. Luckily, we managed to actively manage the contract.
Well, we suspect you're still watching the live stream. It hasn't gone off, and you may be able to even view there are 2 starters on the line. I think you can probably see them there. Yes, I think that's it. And the 2 starters in the women's novice quad, one from North Shore. North Shore will be on this side. That's on the side where the camera is. And looking out, the number 2 crew will be from Glebe. And that's Grace Cesanto, Mary Flanagan, Heather Dewig, and Charlotte Rogers. Right on 10 o'clock. And here we go. We're about to start the women's novice single. You can probably, on the right-hand side of your screens, you might even be able to pick up what appears to be a jetty out there, a stone jetty. It's on the right-hand side. It might be out of the way of the screen, but that used to be when they brought people who were resident or patients at the old Cullen Park Hospital over there, going back over 150 years ago, maybe even longer than that. They would bring them up by boat rather than take them through the streets. It was a terrible situation. But of course there has been a major report into that sort of accommodation, with the result that the institutional type accommodation has been shut down, and it's gone to suburban and home-based homes that are staffed. Whether it's more expensive or less expensive is questionable, but it's more palatable, if I can use that word, to house people in those situations, and properly staffed, and overnight staffing is quite good. But here we have the two crews in the novice quad scull coming down here now, and look, it's pretty close racing, but these are young people, could be older people too, that are starting their rowing, probably in the early stages of the career, whether it's starting as a junior, or they might even be starting off as a master rower in their sort of a little bit later. I suspect that North Shore, Natasha Clan, Katrina Seaman, Sue Min Riggs, and Natasha Lindsay Lobo, they're in lane 1. They're on this side of the course, and they're doing a good job. As you can see, they're following them down, and the race umpire is on their right-hand side looking at the screen and staying back with the second place crew. You've probably noticed that the rate's starting to come up now in the crews. I have a feeling that that could be the Glebe crew in the lead. Yeah, but I think they might have changed positions, and the dark colours. We'll just check that looks like Glebe colours on the far side with the red. So Glebe are on second, so it is North Shore. North Shore in the lead at the present moment. They're in lane 1 on this side, so that's it. North Shore, that's the crew of Can, Sleeman, Riggs and Lindsay Lobo. And so and North Shore, yes, they have the appearance of being a little inexperienced, but nevertheless, what a good job they're doing. And it's so lovely to see people coming into the sport, whether they're young or old. A good combination from Glebe, trying to keep up with them, and this will be a fairly close finish. And so not only is it in the level of skill, but in these, it could be age related that we're seeing. We're seeing perhaps a more mature crew coming from North Shore, and youngsters coming from the crew on the far side, which would be Glebe. But anyway, and good luck to them. What you want to know? What's next? Novice single. Three from Glebe. All from Glebe. Well, Abue's now going. You ready? Big one? No, we don't need a hat. No. I love the brain getting a bit cooked. You ready? Yeah. You've got the. Yeah, it's on. I've also got this. Well, we have a chance of talking now to Andrew Mackenzie, who, in his younger life, he used to be round this area, and rode at Haberfield, rode at Des Moines, rode at Leichhardt, I think, at one stage of the game. But he's up all the way from Canberra, and so he's interested. He knows what's going on in Canberra rowing. Andrew, you're off the water. Were you happy with your row?
Thanks, Barry. Yeah, I was happy to finish. Look, thank you, Barry. We go way back, don't we? It's like our shared connection with Leichhardt here is in fact.
I go back 85 years. How many do you go back?
Not quite that much, mate. But our shared connection with Leichhardt here is my beautiful wife, Katrina Mackenzie. Used to be Katrina Nevitt, and you remember the Nevitts kids, didn't you? You know them well.
I remember the Nevitts. The Nevitts were down here under Coach Lowry, and they came from Sydney Girls High School. I think it was a rower from colleagues that encouraged them to come down here with Mick, and they formed a close association. He picked up the kids from Sydney Girls High School. They'd row in the mornings, they'd row at nights, and he won a premiership just using the schoolgirls and getting them up to scratch. It was a great run. Now this race coming down here is of great interest. They're all novice single scullers. Now, everyone, it doesn't matter how long you've been involved, has been a novice single sculler.
And my first novice race was the JB Sharp in 1988. So
is that
I remember
right?
Yeah,
well, this
is
the 100 years it's been going. Of course, you were younger in those days.
Not quite.
But Glebe, you've got Dylan Watson, you've got Jonathan Nolan, and Otis Carter, all from Glebe, and they're all novice scullers coming down here. Some are doing a little bit better than others.
Yeah, and I recall Glebe's doing an amazing job with their junior rowers. They've got a really good stable there. In fact, my niece rows for Glebe Rowing Club at the moment.
They've done a splendid job.
Yeah.
A splendid job of keeping up with the sport. And in fact, I would imagine they'd be winning the Sharp Cup.
Oh, I would think so, especially the juniors.
Yeah.
So we've got the strongest rower there coming from out of lane 1 there. Nice, long, lanky young fella. He looks like he actually knows a little bit about what he's doing. Got a bit of good body control, a bit of balance. It's always a good start.
Yeah, I think he's obviously from Glebe because there are only Glebe scullers out there.
What do you think, Barry? You reckon he's got a bit of future there?
That's Dylan. Dylan Watson, I think his name is. Yeah, that's Dylan Watson from Glebe.
Yeah, no, I think for these young blokes, just finishing their first race, learning how to pace themselves through that 1,000 metres, that 4 minutes or so, 4.5 minutes, is just a really good achievement. So well done to these young lads.
Well, I think even the race umpire is difficult keeping up with them at this stage. He's well back, but got the flag. They're watching the steering because they are spread over a fair distance here with their placings first, second and third. So the umpire is keeping an eye on everybody, and the flag goes up if the course is being changed a little. But they are very good, Andrew.
Yeah, and we're getting this fantastic feed here through the camera, and being able to see this, watch this regatta online, which is great, and it's actually showing off our lovely little bay here very well. The weather's absolutely perfect.
And you had a race earlier on today. What was that in?
Oh, I did. Yes, I did. It's I raced in the I think it's called the intermediate men's double scull.
Yeah, I was talking about that. That's changed the classifications. That's the old classification. I think it probably now is referred to as level 2 or third rated.
Yeah, I think it might be. Yeah. But I imagine the classification is slightly different for JB Sharp. Anyway, see there. I mean, it's a clear 1, 2, 3 as per lanes. I guess it was a young Dylan there's who won that race. It's a nice feeling to win a race.
That's up. You keep it up.
Yeah,
Is it going?
Yeah, and I just wanted to.
Could be batteries.
Yeah, no, I think it might be quite trying to turn it up.
Yeah. Well, we're just having a problem with the mic that goes out over the whole course and everything else, but associated with live stream. Looks like we might have a battery problem with the standard speakers that are on the course here. But anyway, we can still talk about that. And as you just heard from Andrew, for the race placings, would see that's the lane draw. So that's out of date now. We should have the placing shortly. But I don't think there's any problems about that. It was the Glebe Skull. Dylan Watson up there. First place. Now this might be a little bit more of an exciting event coming up here now. It's the Men's Open Coxed 4. Now open class is the top class in the domestic field here in New South Wales. And this is sponsored by Viva Energy Australia. And it's going to be a row over because the only crew there is from UTS, Charles Brand, Bob Oliver, Hamish Wise and William Pender, which is quite a good crew, and they're coxswained by Ryder Taylor. And as they're the only crew, this should be an easy one for you to call, Andrew. Well, I don't think you answered the question. And that was, how did you feel you went in the 4 that you raced?
Oh, and the double?
Yes.
Yeah, no, it was good. Our first race of the season. I think, you know, it's like, at our age, the goal is to not slow down, you know? Or at least slow down as little as possible. So, oh no.
That's cool, that's live.
So, yeah, no, I think that, no, that's working out. Yeah, no, I think the goal is just not slow down. I mean, that's the goal for any race.
What a good bit of advice. I've never heard of that
slow
before.
down, yeah. Well, you know, it's like, you know, it's not really a sprint, is it? So
no, but to say a crew, you could do that in, what, 3 words?
Yeah, don't slow down.
Don't slow down.
Yeah, that's right. Push them off on the pontoon and say, hey, lads, okay. All you got to do is not slow down, yeah.
So we're still relying on this open Cox 4 to come down here.
Yeah, well, I think we can maybe in between the regattas, you might be able to tell us a bit about your rowing history, Barry. When did you start rowing?
I enjoyed the training more than the competition.
I'm with you on that one, mate.
In those days, the crews used to train in the evenings. Yeah. You'd be on the water by 6. You'd go from Leichhardt right down to 2GB Wise in those days, and the only thing that you had to watch out for was a timber boat that used to go down there with a tug. And unfortunately, I fell foul in between the barge and the tug on one night prior to the season starting, and I had a wonderful swim. And back over to the Glades, or was it the Gladesville shore, the Abbotsford shore. And I used the language like I think I mentioned several times. I yelled out help quite frequently. I had a brand new tracksuit on and I was hanging onto the trousers because the last thing that I could do was to lose my trousers. So I dog paddle with one hand. Now that's not, you don't get very fast by doing that. But the tugboat took the barge right down to the bottom there, which is near Searles Monument. Yeah. Tied it up for Searles in those days, and then came back to abuse us because I hate to say, and I hope the Rowing Association's not listening, but we didn't have a light on the boat, and it was pitch black. So it was a wonderful experience we had in those days.
Yeah, we're inauspicious but enjoyable.
Yes. Oh, most enjoyable.
Yes, I think there are lots of stories up and down the Parramatta River.
Yeah. I've got a scar on my knee to prove it.
Still, all these years later.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what about your involvement with Leichhardt Rowing Club? When did that start?
Well, I came down here. I live locally. Came down here, and I enjoyed the camaraderie of the club. Small club. It was very much like Glebe probably in those days, and it was a much smaller club than it is now. But I enjoyed it because there were people that had just come back from the 1958 Empire Games, and they looked around. They didn't look to another club to import somebody in. I'd never rowed before. And I got invited to sit in with them, and after a few lessons, of course, and I rowed with them for about the next 3 or 4 years. And great men. I mean, they were tremendous men, and they were very generous with their time. John Hudson, former Olympian, and Peter Dixon also was in the group then, and they were so good to invite me in, and they kept me in there for about 4 or 5 years. I love the machine tests. The old
Jessings.
Do you want to?
You used to race the old Jessings?
Do you want an old rowing machine? I know one has been rebuilt and it's still there. They used to call them a torture machine.
Oh yeah, I don't know. They weighed a couple of tons. I don't know if you can move them.
Yeah, I know. It takes 8 people to lift them. Yeah. Anyway, so I enjoyed that. I loved the training at nights. I got called up for selection. I think on 1 or 2 occasions when the selector was Ernie Chapman. Do you remember that name?
I remember the name.
Yeah, Ernie Chapman. And I thought, no, I was going to tech at the time. I was doing a bit of tutoring there as well, so I decided to probably, I have no regrets about that, because the training that was required was intense.
Oh yes,
but the coaches were local coaches who I think stayed on, and they can boast of having Olympians in their boats. And I think the coach around about the time was Peter Evatt. Ring a bell?
Oh yeah, well I think he did Peter do a stint down in Canberra as well? I can't remember. Or was that no,
that might have been a HV, but
yeah, right.
His old man.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, but isn't that one of the beautiful things about our sport, that you can come down and learn how to row, and you can jump in a boat with an Olympic rower?
Yes, you know? It's fair. That is, and provided they probably. And we have Olympic rowers coming over here. They have a little holiday here at the clubhouse when they come over, but I don't know who they are, of course. But it might be the idea, if you visit a club, you just come and say, I'm an Olympian, because you never get questioned.
No, they'll let you out in the water.
You wouldn't say, oh, what did you row in? You pretend that you know what they rowed.
Well, I mean, I'd say it's like that tradition continues. The Australian University Games has just been down on Canberra with my home club, ANU being the host, and I know that there's been a number of Olympians returning and going straight into uni games, and sharing that experience. So it's been a wonderful aspect of our sport. And it keeps dragging us back, doesn't it, Barry? It's like
those sort of atmospheres are still retained in the clubs, like they call community clubs now. And the community clubs, of course, they provide that wide range of membership. But there's probably about 4 elite clubs left in Sydney. Haberfield is one of them. You've got clubs from the Sydney University Boat Club. They boat the elites, and they're in competition with all those other elite clubs from throughout Australia. But there's only about 4. All the other clubs in New South Wales, they produce young people who may end up at a university over here in the regions. There's a lot of work goes on by honorary coaches out there and by paid coaches in the regions here in New South Wales.
No, I'm. It's just a little bit. But it's just we might just stick with this one. Yeah, no, I'm with you, Barry. I think there's a really great camaraderie. My own experience with rowing, of course, as I rowed here on the Iron Cove just after I left school, and did a number of years here, both in Haberfield, racing against the Des Moines boys. And there was nothing more enjoyable than getting out on the water in our lightweight 4 and finding the lightweight 4 from Des Moines out there somewhere, and we'd have a good ding-dong battle going up and forth. And we then raced at regattas. There was always like very, very fierce competition, but it was a great spirit. Yeah, so it's been.
Did you have any experience with Andrew Randell? I think
I did. Yes. So Andy Randell, I was in one of his boats. One of his first boats he coached at state level, and it was in 1991. We went to nationals as a crew, and of course Andy has been involved with the sport all those years, and I remember him saying that his goal, he was talking about goal setting, his goal was to win an Olympic gold medal, and lo and behold, Tokyo 2024, he wins an Olympic gold medal after all those years. Not with Australia, unfortunately, but he did nonetheless. With the British women's quad that won on the last stroke. You only need to win on the last stroke. You don't have to win any other stroke. So it was a fantastic result. But Andy's a homegrown boy from Iron Cove. Yeah, on the world stage.
Yeah. Did you ever hear him say the words, don't go slow?
Yes, that's right. Yeah. Don't slow down. Yeah. Don't slow down. That's where I got it from, Barry. He said, don't slow down, whatever you do.
Well, the fellow that followed him, Rusty Robinson, was employed as the coach over there. I think, did they not win in 1968 the gold in the 8s in the Olympics?
Well, I know, but no, Rusty coached the 72 Kiwi 8. Was it 72? Or I think it might have been 72. Anyway, someone will correct us on that. But the
Yeah.
Kiwis won that fantastic.
That was in 68, I think it was.
Yeah.
Was it?
No, I think I'm
Yeah.
sure it was. Yeah. Anyway, we can.
And of course,
And Rusty coached there, and then he came over to Australia soon after that.
that's
Yeah,
correct.
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
correct.
Yeah, I think it might be another way. I think Rusty was down in Cremorne, and then Andy was his apprentice coach.
The last big 8 was the 1968 that won silver over in Mexico. It was.
That's right. Yeah.
And that was a combination of Sydney Rowing Club and Colleagues Rowing Club, which came on deck at that stage of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Rusty, of course, passed on. He passed away, if you're probably aware, he passed away up on the Pean River.
I was there
During a coaching
I
run.
was
You were there on the day, were you?
I was there. I was on the river somewhere, but I remember it was a terribly sad day.
Yeah.
In fact, you know, let's just say he left the mortal coil doing what he loved most.
Yes,
So
yeah.
yeah, no, I was at a boat camp up in the Nepean, and
Yeah.
just a big heart attack. It's terrible
When he
story.
moved over here, when he got the job over there, he bought with the partner that he had over at Des Moines into the laundry up
That's
there
right.
at Petersham.
Yeah, the laundromat.
The old
yeah.
laundromat, yeah.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's right. I remember that.
And
Yeah,
he used to
world famous coach ran a laundromat
yeah.
back in the day.
And he used to refer to the good ones in the boat as boat movers. That was
Yeah, that's
used that
right.
term, boat movers.
Yeah, that's right. He used to
Yeah.
say, "You're a boat mover."
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
I
Rusty.
had a son that trained under him for an experimental crew that went across to South Australia, and with the United States, I think Japan, and a few China might have even been in at that time. He did a
That was
wonderful
Rodney.
job with
That
those.
was your
Rodney,
boy.
yeah.
Yeah. I raced against Rodney a
And,
couple of times.
And I had a younger son who was Philip. He was in the under-14 championship. He won that 2 years in a row. A youngster, but unfortunately, rugby league caught up with him, and he ended up playing SG ball for Parramatta.
Yeah, right.
So
Yeah.
I lost him.
Well, you know, your boys are big lads, so I can.
Oh, he is. He's a big player.
Yeah. Your boys are big lads. I remember them well. Yes, I used to be a lightweight, so I was kind of different category, but I think they were just a.
But coaching under 14s, it wasn't so much the coaching, it was trying to get them out of bed in the early hours of the morning, because we lived up in the hills area, which was quite a distance down here.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Well, you know, we're the same. We're the Mackenzies and Nevitts. We all our kids rode, you know, and they all had various degrees of success, and but they enjoyed it a lot. They certainly enjoyed it an enormous amount.
Oh, they were great years down there. Well, of course, as we've spoken before, the rowing has changed over here.
Hasn't it? Yeah.
There's a focus on the 4 main elite clubs, and the rest of them, really with their entries in local regattas, financially support many of the elite type rowing.
Sure.
With
Yeah.
the entry fees now are exorbitant.
Yeah.
A lot of money has to go into fees.
We're going to get the boat obviously. You don't have to come straight away, but we're aiming for about 25 on the
Yeah.
boat.
No, it's okay. Yeah, well, Barry, tell me, you know, you're talking about changing in the sport. I've just returned from the Australian Coastal Rowing Championships and Beach Sprints.
I know nothing at all about those.
Oh, mate, it's a giggle. It's a lot of fun.
When you say giggle, is that a criticism or what?
No, I actually think it's great because one of the things you find is that it allows a bit more participation. I mean, we've always perennially, been a little bit concerned that rowing just comes from a very small pool of school kids, and there's the beach sprints has really opened up to the surf boat rowers and the surf boat community. And it's like this. When we talk about a 2,000 metre race, we think about leaving nothing to chance in terms of our training and preparation. And I can tell you, mate, when you're running down a beach and jumping into a boat and rowing around marker buoys and catching waves, there's so many variables. It's just like you've got to let a little bit of luck. Changes the mindset a bit.
Well,
it's good fun.
I do watch it. I watch on television.
That's exciting.
Particularly those races that they sprint out to the buoy out there, and then they all try to turn the buoy at the same time.
Oh no, yeah.
But
it's a lot harder than it looks, mate. I tell you what.
It's a bit of a raffle as they come into the swell towards the finish.
Yeah.
But in my younger day, I never ventured past the last line of breakers, which was normally ankle deep. I was never into that sort of level.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like I actually did do a season surf boat, and a lot of rowers did crossover. So yeah, no, I think it's a really good development. I mean, it's the coastal rowing and beach sprints is far more popular in Europe. It's been there for a long time. In fact, there's some countries you've got more coastal rowers than you've got classic rowers. And so it's very much coming from a kind of a European perspective, but it's also about, as you said, the spectacle is something that the Olympics is very interested in, you know, in terms of what it looks like. You know.
Now, there have been a couple of young ladies from the schools. I know there's a couple from Pymble Ladies College that have gone into the surfboat rowing.
That's right.
They've come out of that, and one even rowed from Peru across.
Oh, they've got, you know, they've got some different motivations. They're the ones that row like thousands of kilometres across. Yeah, there's a lot of
unbelievable.
A lot of different classes of rowers. Yeah. No, it's amazing the diversity of types of events that you have in rowing. And of course, this is it's interesting because this is the one that's kind of been in the Olympics for the longest, so we're most familiar with it. But I think it's good to see diversity in the sport and diversity of opportunity for people to come into the sport.
Yeah. Well, Mark Campbell used to be a surfboat
That's
rower
right.
at one stage of the game, and I know he's been very good for rowing. You sometimes hear him on that station that Macca.
That's right.
On Sunday, he gets on board there and says a few things.
I'd say that's
he's also a very good vet.
It's got a bit to do with his. That's right. He's a good vet. No, he's a great community spirit. No, Mark's a good guy. I think we're coming up to another race here, Barry.
It's the women. This is a really good one. Sorry about that.
I'm gonna leave you to it, Barry, because I've got another race to go to.
What a disappointment!
Oh no, I'll be
Not
back.
Not disappointment for you, but anyway,
we'll have a chat when I get back, eh?
All right. Well, you're missing out on one of the great races down here on the course.
Oh, the handicap.
The women's handicap single scull.
Yeah. Well, I got my own little story. Is that my first? This is my first series was the JB Sharp in 1989, and it was the first time I'd raced the singles, and I managed to win the JB Sharp handicap over that particular season. It got me inspired to keep going and row at a higher level. So,
well, if this is the next event, race 14, I think that's right, Liam.
I think you might. I think we got the quad scull there first, Barry, and then we got the feature events of the regatta, the handicaps.
Why did I put a cross through that?
We're talking too much, mate.
I've just put a cross through that. That's how I sign the checks. With a cross.
Yeah. Righto, mate. I'll be back.
Righto, good on you. Okay, Andrew. And we've been talking to Andrew Mackenzie, who married into a rowing family, the Nevetts. I don't know whether people would remember the Nevetts. They rowed down here, and it was Mick Lowry, who was a great friend of mine, and he took over coaching down. He rowed down here and coached down here, and he took on board the first of the women who were heading in the direction of joining in with the rowing. At that stage of the game, I'm talking about the 60s, early 70s, when women's rowing was just starting to get mentioned. And it wasn't until 1988, I think there might have been one or two in-composite crews, but it wasn't until 1992 that the very first New South Wales crew comprised a young lady from Haberfield Rowing Club and Gillian Campbell. We spoke about Mark Campbell, his wife, Gillian. And they joined forces in a double scull. Unfortunately, they hit the buoys. I think they mentioned that. The buoys, not buoys. They hit the buoys on the course and ended up having to get into a repechage. But they got 7th in the world, which is by no mean feat in those days. But after that, of course, in 1992, in 1996, and Reinhold Barchi, of course, and down at the Institute in Australia, and starting to encourage women. They didn't need much encouragement, but by gee, they used to row hard. Women's rowing took off on that, but one of the first of them was certainly Gillian Campbell, and the young Jennifer Luff was the name. Jennifer Luff. They were the first two that were combined in the first New South Wales combination.
I'll give you the lane draw for this one.
Good. Yeah. That's the. You're talking about the open quad skull or the handicap skull?
No, this is the open quad.
Well, the 3 crews are there. We've got Abbotsford and 2 Glebe crews according to the draw. And Abbotsford are in lane 1. Andrea Preschner, Bronwyn Gow, and Petra McCaskill and Catherine Nato. They're in the Abbotsford crew. And then you've got 2 Glebe crews there. Jennifer Blake in the one in lane 2. Jennifer Blake, Giselle Juaza, Stella Logan, and Ings Adiv, and coached by Nick Galea. And the third of the crews in this event, also representing Glebe, Mary Flanagan, Heather Duig, Camille Morrison, and Charlotte Rogers. And all 3 crews have lined up there, and they're on their way. Covered about the first 150 metres covered. And yeah, an interesting development for Abbotsford. Abbotsford there was a Sydney Women's MLC, so MLC were associated with it, and they used the old clubhouse in Battersea Park. And you could remember they were in the days of Ernie Chapman, who, for a number of reasons, slowed down the progress or transfer of women into Sydney Rowing Club active. Not deliberately, it was just a chain of circumstances. That's the polite way of putting it. And that Sydney Women's MLC was spawned, and MLC rode there for quite some time, and they've moved over the Lane Cove River, I think. And Abbotsford was formed because they had men and women, and so they removed the term women's from Sydney Women's, and it became known as Abbotsford Rowing Club. Well, it's obviously, I think, a Glebe crew. I think that's got a 2 on the bow of it, which means it's the crew of Blake, Juaza, Lagan, and Dive. So they're in first place currently, and they've got an unassailable lead. And second place is the crew behind them, also from Glebe, and they'd only about a canvas, if that, in front of the team from Abbotsford. So at the present moment, it's Glebe back to Abbotsford. Yeah, and very, very close. Now, if you, in this particular event, as they have taken many over the series, Glebe Rowing Club will take the points. Second place will go to Glebe, and Glebe are in front, so I'll take the points. It's the second place crew from Glebe takes second points, but third points, there won't be any points awarded to no, it will be. Glebe won't get points for second place. I think that's about the story. They get points for first, and Abbotsford will get the points for third. Well, I don't think I've ever seen the weather so down here, so there has been a view that it's a pity that these races aren't earlier on in a rowing season. A little bit later this year, but the advantage has been this fantastic water that's down here this morning. Absolutely glorious. And Liam James, of course, is the convener and the head honcho for running the Regatta series. And can I say, he comes from a family that have been very much associated with it, but most people would know. He's also a director of Rowing New South Wales, one of, probably about 5 of them, 4 or 5, something like that.
I think it's 9, actually.
9.
Yeah, including the president and deputy president.
Right, okay, so he's one of about 9, and it seems to be dominated, and I say this with all humility, dominated by women who have done a spectacular job. And if you want women to run a committee, it's the best way to have the committee successful. Would that be right, Liam?
Well, the vote's coming up in a month, so we'll know who we've got on the board.
Well, I was about to say, while we're waiting for this next event coming down, that you're part of the famous James family. His dad is Justice Greg James, and he was a leading judge and a very popular judge because he used to put the baddies away for long periods of time. Now he's defending the baddies, isn't he? I think he's a prosecutor, is he? They're not baddies, no. Everyone he defends now is innocent. That's the way to look at it. And that was Greg James, now doing his own barristership, and I think he's got the two sons working with him as well. And one of them is Liam. So, well done. And Mrs. James, who Barbara Ramjan is her name, and that's Liam's mum, is one of the leading lights for the community club with the para rowers, and always is involved in the coaching ever since they developed up, first of all, at Balmain. I know. Well, very quickly, I'll go through the names because it might be of interest. There are 10 starters. Now, there's no only 4 in this divisional 4. This is all out. And it was one of the great spectacles, the handicap sculls in the JB Sharp. Now, there are 10 women in the women's handicap, and there are 10 in the men's handicap. So they've been forced to break them up. In days gone by, they used to be combined, so we would normally see 20 scullers trying to fit between the clubhouse here and the Rhode Island, and so they've divided it up. So women, ladies first in the women's handicap single scull, race sponsored by Viva Energy Australia, and I'll go through the women's crew now. Wendy Roncolato from Des Moines, Dad has done a great job over there over the years. LEichhardt Grace Conry, a lovely young lady under coach Isaac Shepherd, and her aunt has been a state representative in masters rowing. From LEichhardt we have Malaya Zulfigar, coached by Isaac Shepherd. From Glebe, he's the 4th sculler we're mentioning here, Ming Yang, coached by Cecile Fair. Sydney University, the 5th sculler, Kiara Beasley. From Abbotsford, Yvonne Konchek, coached by Charles Lloyd Jones, and Stephen Sherry, who does a great job as a boat race official here today, as well as a coach of a number of Pymble ladies represented. She's the 7th one to be mentioned. Kelly Clifton. Now, I've seen that name on previous occasions. Is she racing at Glebe as well? Hey?
Over the last 34 seasons?
Yep. Kelly Clifton. Well, she's racing there now. She'll be very good. But she's on a handicap of 60 seconds. These handicaps range from scratch, which would go to Wendy Roncolato, all the way up. And talking about the Pymble girl, Kelly Clifton is on the handicap of something around about 60 seconds. Then Glebe have got Rachel Bozer on 60 seconds. Sophia Stevenson on 60 seconds. That's a minute. The last time I heard there was 60 seconds in a minute. That's a long way over this distance of 800 metres. And UTS there, Charlotte Oliver. Now, they've already started, and you can imagine that the reason for the handicaps heavily on those at the back, which would be people like Olivia Stevenson and Bozer. Clifton would be one of those, until you get up to the 25-second mark for the top 4, is to work their way through the rest of the field and get to the front. And that's not an easy thing to do when you're looking at 10 scullers over a field that at maximum normally takes 8. So it's going to be very interesting. They're well spaced out at this time, and of course some of the young guns tend to follow the shoreline, and it's probably better for them to go straight down the course. We'll try to identify these scullers as they come down here. These young ladies coming down here now would have started off at the lower end of the scale in that category up to about 20 seconds. There was Zulfiger from LEichhardt, Connery from LEichhardt, Ron Collado. So we're trying to pick up the colours, but we've still got the sun in our eyes. So there's one there from Des Moines. That could be, well, that would be Ron Collado on the far side. And on this side, it looks like the Des Moines and LEichhardt in second place. Yep. Well, the general view is that the leader there is the LEichhardt sculler, Grace Connery. And Grace, as we might have mentioned, is the niece of, well, I call him a young lady because anyone younger than me is really a lot younger than me. And it's Grace Connery, Angela Connery, and she's very popular amongst the Masters category and has represented New South Wales on a number of occasions. And lives across over there in, I think, in Newtown Way, I think it is, over that way, Petersham, and she looks like she has been leading in the handicap sculls. There are probably about 8 series, 8 levels of points that are handed out here, and the race is being followed with boat race officials are right behind us, and they allocate the points when they go across the line for their relative position. But it's been a great series. It's dominated by the fact that there are so many individuals in each event. And here we see the 10 scullers coming down there, and all of them have got past the magnificent waters of Iron Cove. And there's been no collisions. It's been very sensible rowing. So included that there's some very experienced people that generally you would find them perhaps coming from the back of the field, but they've worked their way through, and there have been no collisions.
Yes.
No, I didn't. He was already on the score, so 60s for people who don't have a score.
Well, then someone must have put it on the board because his published handicap was at 60. So we put him right back at about 15 or so.
Yeah.
And then James is up to 30.
Which is fine.
So he'll likely be about 2 points ahead.
So what we're trying to achieve, see, everyone is on 8 is the max at the moment.
Yep.
So everyone's going to get a result. So someone in and around 12, 14, 15 will be enough.
Yeah.
So we don't want someone who's on 8 to be the winner.
No, if Simkovic wins, then he gets to 30. So
Nice score. That's what we're trying to achieve. Everyone to be finish up on that sort of score.
And if Walton wins, he gets to 14.
If just hopping in, they'll be back shortly.
I don't think it will. I think Walton is
So
winning.
what
The
we
only
need
question
is
is how much.
we need someone who's a go marker.
Yep.
Who's on 2 points at the moment.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to say could be the winner.
This could be public information, Ross.
Yeah, good.
This is it. Can you speak into this?
I'm not good on the microphone, Barry. I could say a lot of wrong words.
No, you wouldn't. I can't understand.
Yeah, if we got a censor.
You need a 10-second sensor to drop it.
Rectification.
Can this pick up language and that from this distance away from that microphone?
Yeah. It's picking up everything that we say.
Right, good work. Look, sitting right in between the man responsible for this live stream
I refuse to take full responsibility.
is Kim Mackney. Kim Mackney.
I'm not a man who puts my head above the parapet.
Yes, but not a 1972 Olympian.
Before we get to Kim, I have to say we've just had the publication of the women's results.
Oh, right, yes.
So you've got the women's results coming up on the screen now.
Okay.
Here they are.
No. Well, it looks like the LEichhardt sculler has taken the points for the Grace Connery. I just can't pick up the name there. It's there. That's where it is. Yep.
Second was Tremoyne.
Yep. I think you're doing a great job. Keep going. Don't stop now.
Well, for the rest of the results for the women's handicap single scull, second place was Ron Collado of Tremoyne, with Sydney University's Beasley in third, and Leichhardt's Zulfiqar in fourth, Glebe's Yang in fifth, UTS's Olivia in sixth, Pymble Ladies College Kelly Clifton in seventh, and then rounding up the field there for eighth position was Abbotsford's Konchek, Glebe's Raquel Bozza in ninth, and UTS Stevenson finishing in 10th. We'll move to the men's handicap sculls, which will be starting very shortly.
Have you got the point score for the women now?
The point score, Terry will be doing it. I don't know the final points, but he'll be doing that as we speak.
We want to know if someone's finished on the same points as first place.
Terry should be able to tell you.
Yes, that's all well aiming for.
For the audience out there,
Yes.
Kim Mackney is the handicapper. And without giving any stories away or any
Inferring
I
any...
think it'd be very wise, because I was starting to say Kim was in the 1972 Olympic pair. Correct, it was pair.
Yes.
And he did remarkably well over there.
Not well enough, Barry.
No, well, that
13th out of 22. How's that?
well,
That was all right.
that's not bad.
Yeah, not bad. Yeah, not
That's
bad.
not bad.
Look, there was a 1 in there.
Yeah, that's right.
And
So
it was, apart from being a very successful games, it was also a tragedy over there that Kim was involved in with the.
I'd like to disclaim that I had nothing to do with
Yeah,
the tragedy.
well, okay, well, perhaps it's not a good idea to mention the tragedy, but people would know that it involved people from the Middle East
Certainly.
and terrorism of regard and killing, murdering some of the athletes.
A lot of people died.
Yeah,
A lot of innocent people.
and there's a lot of people from that part of the country that forget that in 1972, but we won't get into the politics.
No, back to the handicapped skull. We have an accumulative point score which we're trying to achieve, and what we're trying to achieve, Barry, is a score where 2 or 3 or more, hopefully, end up on the same eventual points, and then we send them back for another race, which is what we're hoping. But I don't know the final outcome of the girls.
Well, the
But,
final outcome
yeah.
of the boys is underway.
Yeah, so what we're trying to achieve, those people who are on low points at the moment, we're trying to get them to be the winner as of the moment.
I heard you weren't too well.
Yeah, no, I'm fine. Yeah,
I
no,
heard
I've
you went
survived.
through a period.
I'm now on 7 pills, Steve, so I'm doing
9,
good.
so that's good.
Yeah. And of course, those who are already on 8 or thereabouts points, we're not wanting them to win this particular race. So we're trying to achieve an accumulative point score at the end where 2 or 3 people end up on something like 13 or 14 points. That's the ideal. But, you know, the lap of the gods and how we've guessed at their handicap will determine that outcome or not.
Well, I might give the names of the young people out there and give their names starting from the 60-second mark, because we hope that
No, look, well, those people that are on 60, we've actually intentionally handicapped them out of it.
righto. So,
So
we'll
start from those who
the
are on
goes,
8 points.
Okay? Remy Wilson, coached by Isaac Shepherd, starts off at number 1. He's on go. On 10-second start, Sam Greenwood, coached by Robin Mackney.
There
Name
you
familiar?
go.
Yeah.
Bit of
And then
plagiarism.
in third off the mark, on 25 seconds will be Peter Waldersee. Yes, I
Yeah,
know.
we're in it.
Is
We're
Peter
doing it.
Waldersee. Macquarie Uni, represented by Cajun Nevitt. God, that's the one that Andrew was talking about. The Nevitts used to row down here as young kids, and now that's the men's. That must be that's
Grandson. yeah.
Grandson. Holy mackerel.
We're old enough. Maybe grandson.
No, well, he's
Barry.
representing Macquarie University now. And Dylan Lee then from LEichhardt, he's back on 30 seconds, also coached by Shepard. From Community, one of the para rowers there is Chris James.
Not para.
It's not
Not
para.
para.
Is that a relation of yours?
No relation either.
Right, no relation to Liam James. So it's Chris James, coached by Liam James.
There you go. No relation.
Hey,
Who's winning?
well, it wouldn't be Chris James
Oh,
because
right.
you've given him a handicap of 45 seconds.
No, intentionally. So
Right.
we're not wanting him to win.
Right.
We're wanting him to come fourth or fifth or something
Right,
like that.
okay, well,
so,
keep-
but
keep-
I think actually they're finished, Barry, and one of them, Wallasey, has finished second. So that accumulative gives him 14 points.
Well,
So he might be the overall winner, but
Could
someone
be.
else might have had that now. So
and the other ones we haven't mentioned from St Augustine, there was Jason Chow,
yeah,
Rory Parker from UTS, LEichhardt Peter Simkovic,
right.
and then from UTS, Zink Bosco.
Right. Well, all those fellas might be worthy scullers, but we intentionally handicapped most of them out of it because they're not on the point score. So they still get a race, but we're not interested in them coming in the first six. So those who came in the first six have already an accumulative point score, which will be added to. We know that Waldersea is currently on 14, aren't we? Yes, I think.
he came over second.
Yeah, we think he came over second. So yeah, the official results are yet to come in. But that's the sort of thing we're trying to determine.
Well, you've done a very good job, and this system has worked for the last, 15, 20 years?
Probably.
How long have you been handicapping?
Oh no, it's been longer than that. I made lots and lots of errors earlier. I've been, I don't know, 3 decades. I've been at it a long time, Barry.
Yeah, well, you had your family rowing. You've certainly been involved with many, many years over there.
And I've fallen upon this system. I'm trying to get as many people to be the winner on this final day. If it's an ideal situation, we have anything up to half a dozen or more people who still can win the point scores overall, and that's the sort of rationale we have.
Well, you're the man with the experience, and you've done a great job over all the years. And it appears that the objects of this particular event, which is the 100th year, have been just as successful.
Yeah, well,
Because the placing, we're all anxiously waiting to see what the placings
see
are.
what happens.
They come in.
Hopefully we've got a dead heat on the scoreboard and we can send them down with new handicaps, Barry. With new handicaps, we now, if we do have a dead heat on the scoreboard, we send them down to have a row off to see who the winner will be, and totally new handicaps determined to try and get them across the line now.
Yeah.
Dead heat, not on the scoreboard.
Hasn't racing changed? I mean, we see these young people out here, and that's got to be retained down here in the JV show.
Oh look, racing hasn't changed much. You put the blade in the water and you pull bloody hard, Barry.
Yeah.
That's
There's one fella said this morning, he said the instruction of the coxswain, the coaches, don't be slow.
That's it.
Yeah, don't
Go
slow
out there
down.
and-
Yeah.
So basically, every generation we're the same. Everyone goes flat out, and some are good at it, and some are not so good, and we all have a lot of fun in the process. Hopefully.
Yeah. What do you?
I have to add my 2 cents here,
Yep,
just
yep.
simply to say that Kim definitely has improved his knowledge on the handicap. The old trick of walking past him with a pair of crutches or with a neck brace doesn't work anymore.
No. I once allowed 5 seconds. The man had gesticular cancer and had 1 nad removed, and I allowed him 5 seconds more.
Oh,
But Kim, this isn't a ball sport.
Hey, listen, Glee Rowing Club, they've never had a long distance row from Glee round to Haberfield.
No, we've used to have the head from Haberfield to Sydney.
That was correct.
And that was good fun. Well, there you go. We might instigate a new race, Barry.
Hey!
We can call it the
Hey.
Moynihan Head or something.
No. You came up with a suggestion, because if it's a bad suggestion, Terry doesn't like it, you can get the blame for it.
Yeah,
But-
it's actually quite interesting along the Balmain Reach there.
Yes.
It can be quite treacherous, so it could be a blood sport.
Well, it's up to Maritime Services Board or whoever looks after the
But
waterways.
that'd be a very interesting race for steering and for the main thing.
Yes.
Quite apart from the obvious tidal and maritime dangers. Perhaps we shorten it up somewhere. I reckon from Kerosene Bay to Haberfield would be a nice one.
That's a good one.
That's a
That's
fairly
a
straight
straight run.
run,
Yeah, it is
almost
a straight
straight run. You'd have to have a buoy off Balmain somewhere to go around. And other than that's a pretty straight run. And 5K, that'd be an interesting race.
Yeah, but how could we inform Glebe?
Oh, no,
this is
we'd-
hypothetical.
We'd row across to the start line. The start line, we'd put it in on the far side in Kerosene Bay there somewhere. Or what is it called? Bull's Head or something?
I don't know whose head it is.
Yeah. That's right. So, but that'd be a good race. Actually, the uni do it from Hunters Hill to Circular Quay or something, don't they? Or is it?
Not Circular
Where's that
Quay,
go?
it runs from North Shore Rowing Club down that way, Lane Cove River across to
Somewhere on this side. I know it exists, but I've just never watched it.
The one in the city. What's that big place called?
I don't know, Circular Quay. I
So-
don't know where
No,
they are.
no, it's Circular Quay.
White Bay?
Yeah, David that way.
Yeah. So, they're interesting races. And for us here in Iron Cove, this is a great precinct to have a race come through. And you've got watching positions and a nice, relatively straight run. So that'd be a good row.
And what a view at Bangaroo.
Yeah. Well, no, we'd be a fair way away from that.
Oh, we could always do a detour, I suppose, could we?
Yeah, well, I think the uni people finish in there, don't they?
Who's that?
The Melbourne and Sydney uni have a
Oh,
head.
that's their race from,
Yeah.
from Lane Cove River across
To
the
Bangaroo, something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I've not raced it.
But see, long distance racing, that's really coming into the fore now.
yeah,
and
it's very popular, and so we can certainly the marketplace is almost demanding that we put one on.
Yeah.
So let's do that, Barry. Let's
Well, think about it.
yeah.
There's a racehorse called Think
That-
About It.
yeah.
Look, now we've got the men's intermediate quad scull coming down here now, sponsored by Viva Energy Australia. You've got 5 organisations down there. Well, actually, we've only got 4 because in lane 1 there's Drummoyne. Lane 2 you've got Leichhardt. Lane 3 you've got North Shore. Then you've got St Augustine's, and Leichhardt's got a second crew in there, which are a junior crew. So that's not a bad entry. This is for
Sorry, what's the
last
status, Barry?
This is the men's intermediate quad
right.
scull.
Oh, well done. Yeah, it's all good. The
Yeah, no,
clubs are well represented.
yeah.
And it's not a bad race either. First, second, and third is a fairly good race. Fourth and fifth are another race, but
Well,
yeah.
people love a competition. There's
Yeah,
no
yeah.
doubt about that. And this is a good race coming down here. But
I can't tell who's winning though, Barry.
no, well, join the club, Kim, because you're looking into the sun.
Who is it, Liam? Oh, that doesn't help. I can't see anyway, mate.
Is that UTS?
I'm trying to picture.
UTS is not there. North Shore is Barry Buffer, Glenn Chris, Michael Payne, and Graham Pearman. If that's North Shore in the lead,
No, it's a Green Blades. Who are the Green Blades? St Augustine.
well, that's St Augustine.
Yeah, right. So you've got
St.
St
Augustine's.
Augustine well in front.
And now back to North Shore, is it?
Leichhardt.
Leichhardt. And then North Shore back and forth.
Drummoyne fourth,
Drummoyne fourth.
and that'd be North Shore then left over to bring up the rear.
Yeah, well, St. Augustine's.
Yeah, that's well done. St Augustine's, they're well in front. Powerful rowing. Probably young as well, are they? Barry?
Oh, yes, they'd be young. That's Henry O'Hare, Jess Bray, Matt Jurita, and Lachlan Schofield.
Someone's ringing me, Barry. Well, my better half is giving me a call, Barry, so I'm going to have to ring off.
Oh. My regards to Robert.
Yeah,
and
okay.
same to you, Kim.
All right, thanks. It's been great.
You're tremendous.
Hopefully there's a dead heat for you, Liam, and you can work out a new handicap for him.
I just had a quick look just then.
Yeah, what did we
Men's
get?
handicap will be 118.
Oh, he's won it, has he?
I don't have the women's one. Yeah, he was a
Right.
couple points out.
Right, so he did well.
Yes,
Oh, well,
yes,
a worthy winner.
He's off at 14. There's 11, 12, 10, and 7.
Well done, Peter. So he performed well on several occasions, so he deserves the title. He's on the trophy with a lot of very famous names, Liam. You can probably ring them out, or Barry will know all the names.
Oh, I don't know
So
any names
Peter
now, mate.
Wallace, he can join the famous.
A couple of Pierces as well.
Yeah, a couple of Pearsons, yeah.
Well,
I never got my name on it.
You're not on it? I thought you were.
No. I tell you who's good at it is Mark Campbell.
Oh, he had a few, yep.
He's won it 4 times from 3 different clubs. Quite a title.
Not
All right,
bad.
I'll see you later.
See you later.
It was just a call. There's been a call for the MLC8, who are the only crew that's listed to be racing in the Women's Open 8, which is the I think 22 events. So we're well into the regatta program, but it would be a pity if there are any MLC representatives there, but I don't think there were too many. A couple of scullers. Perhaps I think we might have had a bigger boat there. But the races, if you are there, you will really need to make your way up there and where you're voting from. It's Ashley Denton, Isabel Ning, Nicola Keast, Eliza Kershaw, McDonald Eve Parker, Rebecca Beaton, Sophie Winall, Clementine Henricks, and Steph Liang is the coxswain. Now, if any of you can hear this, they're waiting on you at the start.
Which school did you say that?
Women's Open 8. There is a crew on the other side of the Iron Cove.
Yeah, school also, right? That was school that set up the school. They're heading towards it. You're on the other side. Looks like a men's boat.
Looks like a what?
It looks like a men's crew that's coming through there.
An entry.
No, it looks like it's a men's crew.
Oh, a men's crew. Well, of course, there is the men's open, right? That's race 22. That's on 11:50. Well, if there's anybody listening on that, perhaps we cameras focused on all the buildings over there on the in the Sydney, North Sydney area, and heavens above. Well, all. Yep. So the 8, it is the 8. It is the 8, is it? Yep. Well, this is going to be a we're just quietly keeping out of the way of the boat race officials. Our main microphone, I don't know whether whether it's solar powered or whether it's lost coal powered, but it's down on batteries at the present moment. We can't find any of the batteries in the store. So anyway, we'll keep going on the live stream because we've got a great device there. So now the Women's Open 8, that the only entrant is from MLC. Now they're going flying down the Parramatta River, and I think the officials have allowed them to start, and they're starting now the row over. Race number 18 is the, if you have a program there, scheduled to start at 11:10. So the boat race officials are not mucking around with times today. Everything's racing well to time. So in this crew we have Ashley Denton, Isabel Ning, Nicola Keast, Eliza Kershaw, McDonald, Eve Parker, Rebecca Beaton, Sophie Winnell, Clementine Henricks, and Steffi Lang is the coxswain. So I don't know whether we can follow their progress down or not. But if followed closely by the umpire, the official. They must have an official behind them. And
just turn off the speaker.
This one?
So not too bad. Very bottom.
Yep. And they have been going particularly well. I mean, MLC, this is the crew that, well, this is the club that used to be part of the Sydney Women's MLC makeup. And of course, they've now moved across, I think they've gone across to the Lane Cove River, where they're boating at a co-shed with the University of, one of the universities over there. And haven't they advanced that? I mean, women's rowing, and I'll talk about the students rowing. Female students rowing has absolutely blossomed. Have been absolutely wonderful the way they've developed. First of all, in the early 90s, and Pymble led the charge there, Pymble Ladies College, and then others were to follow. But they have their own regattas now. They're not part of the club structure. And they do a magnificent job. And it all comes from the head, the principals who support rowing in the school. It used to be known as Sydney Women's MLC, and it was a dominant women's organisation over there. But then the Sydney area, the Sydney Women's MLC Club, started to get male members, and so the MLC went across to the Lane Cove River. And with the addition of men, it's now become known as the Abbotsford Rowing Club, not to be confused with Sydney Rowing Club, which is also at, you guessed it, Abbotsford. Well, they did quite a good run down there, rating about 32, 34 strokes a minute as they came down here, all getting good length through the water, and obviously listening to their coaches. And these college girls, of course, are much sought after by the American universities, who make a fairly regular visit at state championship time to see whether there were any appropriate for bursaries over there. And in fact, I think some of the Australian crews they've formed Australia in competition over there as an Australian crew, but they're actually all over there at the universities, various universities, including Yale and the top universities. And I think the first involvement from an American coach, I think, was John Piper. And John Piper went across to Sydney, and I think at one stage he even came round here to LEichhardt, when LEichhardt was starting to become on the wane. I mean, all the heavies there had retired, and so it was probably in 1969, 1970, that John Piper came up, and I don't know whether anyone listening here today would remember John Piper, but he'd have a gabardine coat on, and his neck would be full of stopwatches and paraphernalia. He was an amazing man, but he was the Boston University rowing coach. I think he lived over on the north side, over there at not far from North Shore Rowing, as a matter of fact, or Riverview College. But then he moved up to Queensland, where he got involved with the Queensland rowing. I don't think he coached the King's Cup up there, but he certainly involved at the senior level up there. John Piper was his name. Some people might remember it. And the American coach from Boston University. Well, the next event, we spoke about the novice scullers. This is an event which certainly has attracted the reward system they have here in the Women's Novice Single Scull, the race sponsored by Viva Energy Australia. And two competitors here, Yu Kui Tang, coached by Charles Lloyd Jones and Steve Sherry. And from Glebe, we have Grace Susanto, coached by Olivia Klotz and Bill Gregory. Grace comes from the Glebe Rowing Club, and of course Yu Kia Tung comes from Abbotsford. And they're starting to line up now. That event will commence by 11:20. No. I'm grateful for the patience that you're showing with me. No, I haven't. I think I'm bordering on Alzheimer's or something. I can't remember the memory, but I can do it.
What is he, 14? 12. What's the...
Well, keep your eye on the two clubs, Abbotsford and Glebe, because the following event, which starts at 11:30, is for the men's novice quad scull, and that has Glebe and Abbotsford also competing there, but in the men's novice quad. And that, for those people who might be listening, have an interest in that, Jonathan Nolden, Otis Carter, Bill Turner, Sebastian Coxar, and from Abbotsford, Stephen Winnall, Stuart Gilchrist, Nick Wills, and Andreas Roman. And only two crews in that. But, dear, the joys of starting off your rowing career. Look, I can remember, and please forgive me if I reminisce, but I can remember the regattas when Glebe Rowing Club, the original clubhouse, was over there. And everyone tried to park in the adjoining area behind them, the school, so it was pretty crowded out in those days. But you had to walk on the mud next door to the original Glebe Rowing Club, which was an interesting experience because there were all broken bottles there. I can remember a trip to Royal Prince Alfred, bleeding over everybody, and in an event there, I think it might have even been the novice single or some single. But anyway, it was a wonderful family event, the JB Sharp Regatta, and it still remains so. And under, firstly, two people who deserve a great mention apart from John Sharp would be Liam James, who is the current convener. But the man who has steered through a lot of hard times is Terry Marr. And Terry Marr And yeah, that's right. Someone is clapping. But Terry Ma has been a mainstay. I don't know. He's well recognised, certainly at interstate level, because at one stage he was the CEO of Rowing New South Wales, and then retired. But in retirement, he hasn't given the game away. He's involved as the secretary, and picked up that he had originally had that, and then it was handled by various people following that, but he's now gone back to being secretary of the New South Wales Union of Rowers, and he's done a remarkable job for that. If anyone wants to know what the New South Wales Union of Rowers actually do, they raise necessary funds to have young people like we're seeing race out there today to do their best, and if they do as well or if better than other people, they are entitled to a bursary. Now the bursary is about $1,000, and sometimes it's been up as high as 7 or 8, and on average it'd be around about 6 people enjoy a bursary. They can come from local clubs, but they can also come from country organisations, the regions, and they're identified, their coaches identify them, and the New South Wales Union of Rowers make sure that they have the funds necessary to be able to get into inter-regional racing, to get a sculling boat seat, a watch, and to get their entry fees in, and that becomes very handy. And it's a great support, well recognised by many old rowers and middle-aged rowers who've got children and grandchildren still rowing. But here we have this event coming down here for the women's novice single scull. Now I think that sculler out there is from Abbotsford, because the colours are very similar to those of Sydney Rowing Club, except they have a white flash. Now that would be Yu Kiao Tang, coached by Charles Lloyd Jones and Steve Sherry. Now Steve Sherry is another man that should get a mention, because he is a volunteer boat race official, but also is a great coach, and spreads his skills amongst a lot of combinations and crews. Well, it's fair to say that Terry Ma has been involved with the JB Sharp at a senior level over the last 40 years. But prior to that, as a member of the Balmain Rowing Club, he also used to put the buoys out, the buoys, not the boys, he put the buoys out. And during the early days, or not the early days, but our early days of rowing, and that would be in the, probably around about the let's say the 1970s, something like that, the mid-70s, he started to get out on the water and do all the hard yards, and worked his way up from doing that to become the CEO of Rowing New South Wales. At a time when there was a lot of work to be done, women's rowing was starting to move in, and as you can see, the scullers racing there in the women's novice single, 2 scullers there. It looks like the Abbotsford scull is still there in the lead. Liam, is he still there? We think that the Abbotsford sculler has maintained that lead, second place with the Grace Cesanto. We'll have to wait in official placings because they finished as before, just a little out of sight. It looked like Yu Kui Tang. So getting back to that mention there, you've got Terry Ma, who was, even whilst he was the CEO of Rowing New South Wales, looked after the New South Wales Union of Rowers. And he's been the driving force, along with several others, of doing a great job. and Terry Ma and the current president, John Johnson, did a great job of moving that magnificent library that was formed and developed by another boat race official, Louis Petron, you might recall, and shifting that whole thing down to the responsibility of the Australian rowing team, Australian rowing people, Rowing Australia. Well, there seems to be a broken handle, probably in the next event, the men's novice quad scull. So they've come down here to collect it. Well, the broken oar now is being replaced with an oar from the LEichhardt Rowing Club, and shortly we'll be underway with the men's novice quad scull. Well, the boat race officials can handle everything. The next event, in spite of the broken oar, was scheduled to start at 11:30, and by the time they get the oar up there, it'll be right on 11:30. A great shot of what? The novice 8. Oh. Is that live?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Novice 6. Coming down the course.
Well, we're on live stream, and I'm sure no one would mind, but everybody's safe and sound. There's a boat not looking in the best position there. I think it looks like the oar's broken. The boat's tipped over. And there's a lot going on down there at the present moment.
There is, isn't there?
Oh, well, you might be best over. Have you seen anything like that before?
Mate, everything.
You don't roll over
everywhere.
boats in Canberra, do you?
No, but you know, everything happens in a pool. It's a mechanical malfunction. So while we're waiting, Barry, we've got a couple of lovely old timber boats racing.
Yes.
And I believe it might be the last race of the day. Is that correct?
I think it is. Yes.
Not men's open 8. Or maybe not in the program, but so I'm told that we've got an old S&B built in 1974.
Yes.
Pub single. I have fond memories. My first rowing season was in a S&B pub 4, so pub 4, not pub single. Pub 4, Cox 4, and they were good boats.
Would you like to see a collection of old timber boats?
I'd love to see. Yeah.
Right. You know where they are? On the Hawkesbury River.
Is that right?
You saw about there was a race that was racing as a Kemp, I think.
Oh yeah, I raced the first Kemp.
Did you?
The first event,
up on the Hawkesbury?
Yeah.
Well, that's Kemp is the great grandson, I think, of Bill Kemp, who was a professional sculler going back many years ago.
And his great grandson Peter is the one who started up there.
He's got the shed up there. Yeah. It's like a factory shed, but it's packed with old boats that he's restoring.
You know, Peter, in the first Kemp Classic, last year that he resurrected. It has spent months restoring an old stand fleet.
Yeah.
Old timber stand fleet. Beautiful boat.
Skull. Yeah.
Absolutely magnificent boat. And he was determined to row, and he got it down and put it on the water, and the gates were so low he couldn't get his knees over the. But anyway, it was always good to see it on show.
Well, he's a very tall man.
He's a big man. Yeah.
He's a very tall man.
Well, he's a Balmain rider.
Yes, yeah, I know. I went up and saw the collection.
Oh, did you?
I was fascinated by it.
It's great legacy.
They're up in the ceilings, around the walls, all old photographs there. I think you could refer to it as a museum, but not many people know about it.
Yeah, and if you look down there on the pontoon, you can see the old there's some timber macon forward there, and then there's even the older version of the needle spoon, the thin spoons just down on the pontoon. So I think they're the ones that are going to be used for this road pass with those old boats. So we've got a 1974 Sergeant Burton Pub 4, and then we've got a 1958 Greens. Remember?
Greens were over there alongside Grandma.
Yeah, and then Sergeant Burton bought them out. Would that be right?
I don't know whether they might have bought them
Or
out.
took over their shed or something.
They moved across. They moved across to the Sydney Rowing Club side.
Right.
But their shed was tacked onto the side of where the site of Sydney Boys High School is now.
Yeah. And it's like the beautiful, the old McConnell.
You know what happened to Sergeant Burton?
Oh, they've had a colourful history, old Mr. Sergeant Burton, and they built some interesting composite boats. They got tolls and tolls.
But Ray Sargent, I think, gave it away. But Ray Burton, Jeff Sargent gave it away. But they had developed that factory over there on the opposite side, and Parramatta River. But Ray Burton started to import Chinese boats, plastic boats.
Is that what it was?
And they called Burton boats.
Yeah, right.
And I think
he did surf boats as well, didn't he?
Yes, he did. Yeah.
I think he found the surf boat market.
And a bloke down at Wollongong. But there was an attitude of, I can remember that the Australian boat builders over here, they blacklisted boats that were imported when they first came in, and they wouldn't touch them even to fix them. But that's all changed now.
It has.
Yeah.
Can we got a? How do we find the link for the JB Sharp? We just search JB Sharp on the.
Where is it? Are you looking for a YouTube?
Yeah.
It's also on the New South Wales website.
So for those of you that are wanting to get some lovely footage here, close-up footage, we can go on to the JB Sharp. You search JB Sharp on YouTube or Google, or you can go to the New South Wales Rowing website and see the.
Is that on now, Liam?
Yes, live stream.
Terrific. Is John Sharp arrived down here or something? Is he? Where is he? Is that John with Phil, is it? This thing is not working. Got the speakers over there?
They're doing really well with the speakers, because it's projecting over there.
And where's the point of it? That's working.
Yeah, so that
Good
one
on you.
is speaker one.
Good on you. Good on you. Well, John Sharp just hasn't. I saw John over at the Haberfield Rowing Club, the last JB Sharp Regatta, sitting over there on the front bench, and he's a good man. He was a good politician, and he's been a good administrator in his own life as a consultant. But he's been excellent support and sincere. He's been one of the best patrons, I think, of any organisation that promotes sport.
That's good. it looks like we've got the start on the next race, which is the men's novice quad scull. And I think you'd agree, Barry, that the great achievement for a quad scull is to get all the young fellas getting all 8 of their oars in the water at the same time and back out again.
And as you pointed out, don't go slow.
Don't slow down. That's right. Yeah.
Well, you remember the old classifications they used to have. There was novice, you win 3 novices, and you move up in a maiden class, and then it was junior.
And you remember all the antics that the coaches would do to try and, don't win that race, but win this race. Yeah.
Well,
it still goes on.
This is a good close race coming down here now, Andrew.
Oh yeah, and that's again, it is great, isn't it, to see keeping it together. In fact, that's pretty impressive rowing as far as I can see. And there's generally the bodies are swinging together, and they're obviously feeling the pressure of being close together, and seeing them coming up to the halfway mark.
Yeah. I think one of the reasons why you see so few down here today is because once you've won one, you've got to move up to the next level. But it's great to see them, young people out there, and as we saw in the last event, Abbotsford and Glebe featuring this. Glebe has done an amazing job of producing young people off the streets up there at Glebe and having them compete, and full marks to them. I think they're going to do well in the overall series. We'll find out how well they're doing.
We can see here that Glebe crew on the near side. A bit hard to tell. You think the Glebe crew look like some young fellas, and then
they would be, yeah.
And the Abbotsford crew might be a masters novice crew.
Yes, well, Abbotsford as a community club have been going now for quite a few years now.
Yeah. So we can't.
No, they're doing real well.
Yeah, nice long limbs.
Yeah.
It's always good to have a good leaders on you. They're doing very well. Yeah, that's young Nick. What's Nick's last name?
Galea.
Nick Galea down at Glebe. He's doing a really good job.
Yeah, he's done a very good job.
No, I was talking to him recently, and he's thinking about taking some kids up to the coastal event.
Jeff McIntyre.
Good to see
You know Jeff McIntyre?
Yeah.
Andrew Mackenzie.
I was a rower back in the 90s, late 80s, early 90s. Used to race against
Rode at
the boys.
Haberfield. Jeff McIntyre was over there. He was the manager of the Australian team over there. What year was that, Jeff?
1962.
Well, you were a youngster then.
Yeah. No,
You were still in primary school.
No, 1962, mate. I didn't know them here.
I was just speaking to the guys down there. I saw that wonderful tub 4. I didn't think they still existed. And the folks that have used them before, I saw a road one of those in 1950.
Here it comes out now.
He said, "G'day, William. How are you, Jeff? Good, man."
Jeff, there's one it's coming out here now. It's the old Tub 4, and it was the much smaller version of the Tub 4 was the Tub Pair, Gladstone skiff. And in fact, they used to race in Gladstone skiffs, going back there again in the 1960s. You remember that, Jeff? Yes. What's that? Ah. Yeah.
Now we go. We can see there. So that brings back memories, putting those old tubs on the water, doesn't it? Yeah. So we used to. My first experience with tubs out of school. We had to walk them off the beach. And just get knee deep in mud before you get into the water, and you have to somehow hose it all off.
Yeah.
They used to get filthy.
Well, those boats I think were used by the schools as a Tub 4. The Tub Pair, as I recall. Do you know where Lady Walker is? I mean, I'm talking about the hospital site down there. Just down from Concord Hospital is the Lady Walker Convalescent Home.
That's right.
And she was a marvellous benefactor. She gave away a lot of the at Urella. That's it. Yeah, Urella. That's what it's called. And the beautiful stone entry from the water up there. But she used to revel in sitting at the back of the Tub Pier being rowed round by 2 oarsmen. Now, I don't know where they came from, but she'd go round the harbour like a cruise in it. But
Oh,
was
that's
a wonderful woman.
That's a good use of
Yeah.
tub fours, I have to say.
But the old tub fours are there.
So we can see here, Barry, just a 4 there going past that. Oh, sorry, an 8 going
Yep,
past,
no,
rowing in bow fours. That's the St. Augustine's crew, and it's really great to see the
Well, they had
UTS.
their race here today. They had a row over.
Yeah. So UTS has now expanded outside of the kind of the GPS crowd, and they've got 2 really excellent schools rowing out of their shed at the moment. So creating pathways. So you got St. Augustine's for the young men, and then St. Catherine's for the women. And of course, the St. Catherine's crew not only won nationals last year, but they also went off to Henley, made it to the last 4. So they're a really impressive program there, and some really impressive rowers. And it's good to see. You see the schools expanding.
Both the boys and the girls are over there.
That's right. Yeah. So
What a great move.
Yeah. So there's a lot of young people down there now. So it looks like the next race we've got on here is the women's intermediate under 16 double scull. Just bring them up to the start line. And so we can see here, by the sounds of it, the boat race umpires, it appears that MLC school hasn't appeared to the start line. So in lane 2 we have LEichhardt, Lily McHugh and Malia Zulfa coming out of the junior sculling program here at LEichhardt, coached by Isaac Shepherd. Lily's dad, Al McHugh, is a long time member of the rowing club here and a valuable contributor to LEichhardt Rowing Club. And in lane 3 we've got Abbotsford. It's Adriana Guthrie and Catherine Nato, coached by Charles Lloyd Jones. Then we have the community club, Constance Hurlin and Robin Smith, coached by Liam James. And then we have Yvonne Konek and Bronwyn Gow, coached by Charles Lloyd Jones. So they're just waiting for the crews to come up to the line. As per normal for our starts here up on Iron Cove, we do a running start, so the umpires do a great job in bringing everybody up together within a canvas of each other, and then allow us to kind of roll onto the line. And a day like today, it's a rather straightforward exercise. But there have been times in the past where it's been a massive challenge to get races to start, and I think the BRA is doing an amazing job getting these boats off on time and getting them racing and giving them a reasonably fair start.
I'm just thinking, you should be a member of the New South Wales Union of Old Rowers. Are you in that?
I am not, but tell me about it,
Oh,
Barry.
yeah.
Tell
New
me all
South
about the
Wales.
Union of Old Rowers.
I'll make sure. What's your address? And I'll make sure you get an application.
But you tell me about the Union of Old Rowers, Barry. We need to know.
Oh,
There's other rowers
right,
here that are all
okay.
listening in. We could find out what
Well,
do
the Union
they
of Old
do. and how
Rowers, they do a magnificent job with Terry Marr as the secretary there, and
I remember
and
Terry
John
being
Johnson.
Terry
John
was
Johnson
the
is
CEO for rowing
yeah,
New South Wales for
John
years.
Johnson, formerly associated with Newington College, is
Yeah.
now the president there, and they've done a magnificent job. I was
Fantastic.
talking about the shifting of the library under former Louis Petron, who was a great developer and holder of many items of historical nature,
Excellent.
both from internationally and both more internationally than that. He went round at various auctions and things like that and accumulated this magnificent collection.
Yeah, wow.
It would be worth tens and tens of thousands of dollars.
Well, probably priceless.
Yeah,
Probably priceless.
yeah. Anyway, the Rowing Australia agreed to the transfer, and facilitated by Terry Marr and John Johnson.
Oh, that's
And
fantastic.
they got it in. They
So,
came up, picked it up in truck, and some of it was on display at the last state championships up here, Australian Championship.
That's wonderful. That's good. It's such an important to maintain that heritage.
It is.
The heritage,
And
the heritage of our sport.
there's a strong contract being drawn up between Rowing Australia and the woman who bequeathed them, and it provides conditions that both parties would be happy with.
Yeah, that's excellent.
It shall never leave. If it does leave, it goes back to the original collector. Very difficult. Passed away about 3 years ago.
Oh no, that's a great legacy. And of course, it's interesting when you think about the legacy of rowing. It goes back to the founding the first settlers to Australia, and of course, you know, it's an ancient sport, so it's great to have that.
Well, that's something that's now encouraged by the New South Wales Union of Oarsmen. And if there's anybody here that's interested in joining up with the New South Wales Union of Oarsmen, they're also very much involved with the JB Sharp committee, and many of them are in both, but there's always room for more. There's plenty of information. If you have a look at the website, I've never seen so much information. They record all the names of New South Wales representatives in all the big races, internationally, the Olympic Games, King's Cup, Queen's Cup, all those. And Terry has updated those. He used to do that when he was the CEO of Rowing New South Wales, but the New South Wales Rowing now doesn't worry about things like that. It's a pity, but it's under much better hands in the New South Wales Union of Oarsmen.
Well, and that's a great,
and rowers, I think
and that's a great legacy as well.
So I've got to make sure you get an application.
Yeah, no, definitely.
It's big money. It only costs $3,000 a year. No, money joking.
Yeah. Okay, we have a start in the Division 1 of the under 16 intermediate women's double scull. It looks like, it appears to me there is 5 starters there in that race there. Does it look like? It appears to be, and they're all pretty evenly covered across the course there as well. So when we're talking about intermediate scullers, we're talking about rowers that have probably done a season of novice, or at least done a few races in novice, and won a few races, and then have been elevated to the intermediate grade. And as you'd expect, the skill of these athletes is, in terms of their blade works, is that little bit better than you find with the novices. Some really nice placement of blades from all of the crews going across the field, but you can certainly notice that the crews that tend to be in the lead just have a little bit better blade work and holding on the water just that little bit longer than the ones that are at the back. And it shows the testament to good coaching and that coach's belief that better technique will always result in a faster boat.
At the Haverfield Regatta, which was held quite a number of months ago, if I can just give you the results of that, the women's intermediate was combined with the, well, we won't worry about the intermediate, but the women's under 16 double scull and the women's intermediate double scull. There were names like Turner and Watson from Glebe, Ireland and Lane, New Savage, Abbotsford, Smith and Willards. I don't think any of those names are down there, are they? Glebe, Pollock and Ragan Chopal, North Shore, Buff and Crisp. Here we are.
You got a.
Let's go, community!
So we've got some enthusiastic supporters here on the sidelines, and the community club look like they've got a really good handle of this race. Lovely long strokes there. That's really good rowing on their part. Not trying to.
That's Constant Ewell and Robin Smith.
And you look, you can see there that they're not trying to overrate. They're just getting speed through the water using their legs, which is really good. They've got nice body
There's
position.
some good rowing out there, isn't there?
There is some good rowing, isn't there? Yeah. This is a crew just coming on the inside there. It looks like it's a crew from UTS.
Now they're the intermediates.
Oh, they're the Abbotsford crew. Yeah,
they're the intermediates.
Let's go, community!
They're kind of coming up, and so it's going to make for a tight race towards the end. This is really great experience for both of those crews as they're fighting it out to finish this race and to really sort of just stay composed but dig deep and maybe just try and up the rate towards the end of the race and just keep that bow in front on the line there. It's a bit hard to tell though. I can't really tell who's going to win this one, but it's a very nice, good quality piece of rowing there from the two crews there. One being an intermediate and crew, and one being an under 16 crew. So excellent work. What was that? Yep. Very good.
Is that Robin Smith? Yeah. Where was she rowing before that? Yep.
She's come back, she's both rowing and coaching.
She's over at really. Good on you. Yeah.
We're just waiting for the results of the women's intermediate under 16 double scull Division 1.
Daughter or granddaughter? The Smithfield, Liam.
I think she got
So it should have to be granddaughter. Because Greg Smith's son Tim rode in the
Yeah. That's Robin.
yeah.
very good through the
So now we have the second division of the women's intermediate under 16, and it looks to me like there's two under 16 crews in this particular race. One from LEichhardt, Mia Simpovic, and Frankie Andrews, coached by Isaac Shepherd. And then we have the glebe crew, Zoe Leichhardt and Inga Dive, coached by Nicholas Galea and Oliver Klotz. So that's good to see those two crews starting today. It's the future of our sport is in these young rowers. They have to have been born in. They have to have been turned 15 this year to be able to row in the under 16 category. So they're probably at year 9 at school. They're quite young.
Mm. You mentioned Nick Galea. He's done a magnificent job over there, I believe, hasn't he? Nick Galea.
Nick's done a really good job. He's, in fact, my niece rows down at the Glebe Rowing.
God, you've certainly got a lot of family involved in the sport, haven't you?
Happens, Barry, you get started and they just all start rowing. You know, it's like, how do you stop them? So yeah, I got a lot of them. Got my niece, and I've got a nephew rowing as well. He rowed at the JB Sharp at Glebe the other day. It was a young Nebbit fellow that rowed that. So let's sing there. We can see that's a pretty tight race again here, Barry. We've got three crews certainly spread across the field there, holding their own lanes. It looks to me like the crew on the inside lane here, lane 1 is LEichhardt crew. It's just probably got a little bit of a hand. Oh no, that looks like the glebe crew. No, it's the glebe crew that's taking the lead there from lane 2.
The one from LEichhardt might be right behind them, I think.
Yeah, I think LEichhardt might be having some steering issues there.
Yeah,
and then on the other side we have the two intermediate crews. We have Lisa Molyneux and Chanel Stokes, coached by Frank McHugh, Al. And then the MLC school, well, I think it might be UTS. Do you think it's UTS? Yeah, UTS crew, Bianca McKenzie and Matilda Marcontes, who are on the far side in lane 5. And it looked like it's going to be a ding-dong battle between the UTS crew and the Glebe crew. Young under 16 crew there. These have got some long legs and long limbs in that stroke seat there. And they're having a red-hot go at really trying to push it out against the intermediate crew from UTS on the other side there. Another good race. So I'd say
That's one of Galea's crews.
that's one of Nick's crews there. So I'd say coming past here at the island, that it's the Glebe crew that have got a good handy length lead over the UTS crew, but no one's slowing down. They're all having a red hot go at it, and I can see that the MLC crew's starting to have another push, followed up towards the end by the LEichhardt crew that had a bit of steering difficulty to start off with, but have found their lane and are doing quite well. Again, great to see these young athletes racing this event. So, Barry, we've got a men's Open 8. I have fond memories of listening to you commentate the men's Open 8s at the New South Wales Championships back in the day when Mossman and Sydney and Haberfield and Drummoyne used to put on their 8s, and there used to be a real ding-dong battle. And I'd have great recollections of your commentary on those very exciting races. So I'm going to hand it over to you to cover this race between these 4 different crews.
The men's Open 8. Oh, you should stay and do that.
Oh, there's a lot of crews.
No, you've done a fantastic job today. You really have.
That's gone.
I'm glad I haven't met you before.
You know what? We've crossed paths, but I was a rower. I was much more interested in the girls at that
But
stage.
it's come as a surprise that the relationship you have with the Nevets.
Yeah. It
You're
all comes
really
around.
a Mr. Nevet now, aren't you?
I am.
Yeah.
That's right. I should have changed my name.
Yeah, pass on my regards to the girls and Mick, of course, they'd be aware.
Patricia, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, she'd be aware of the great times that we shared down there and the weekend that they had. And every time I go down that way, I look at the laneway that went on. Now, what was it called?
That was
Something
Tyndall's Lane.
That was it.
Yeah,
Tyndall's
yeah.
Lane.
Isn't it
It's all
so
changed now because of the expressway.
Yeah, that's right. Such a pretty spot.
Tyndall's Lane. That was it. Beautiful spot. They had a little creek running through the place, and
Yeah, it was very pretty.
we had a place full of kids there. We took
So we
20 young people down there.
Yeah, a lot of fun. So the women's intermediate races is just coming to an end. It looks like it might have been the Glebe crew that hung on to finish in first place. Here we go. We have the last race of the day.
Well, this is the big 8.
This is the big one.
Yep. Well, the last race of the day is scheduled to start at 11:50, and congratulations to the boat race officials. As always, they always run the regatta on time. Well done. In lane 1, we'll have St. Augustine's with Oscar Porteous, Henry O'Hare, Oliver Kennedy, Jasper Moy, Daniel Corrigan, Jess Bray, and Matt Regatta. Lachlan Schofields and Henry Goldsworthy is the coxswain of St. Augustine's. In the Leichhardt combination, we've got, there's the big guns there. This is a crew that's done very well at the head of the Yarra, and they've also done extremely well up here in the Masters races. They'd be a hard one to beat against the schoolboys. Martin Emery, Rob Gilmore, Edward Parmisano. His father used to row for Colleagues Rowing Club.
Is that right?
Leading like Colleagues, yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah, well, Ed's a long time member of
Marcus Wilson, Ben Farrer, Tom Allen, Tom Newsom, and Rob Koskar. Ruth Kelly, former vice captain down here, and captain of men, by the way. She's the coxswain in the back of the Leichhardt crew. From Des Moines, Rayful Correz and John Douglas, Burke, Patterson, McLeod, Jones, Saka Bibara, Michael Wong, Kathleen Hextell, president over there. She's in the coxswain seat. And from UTS, they'd be the big guns: Pat Burke, Galen Routley, Henry Pursehouse, Rory Parker, Charles Bram, Robert Oliver, Hamish Wise, William Pender, and Ryder Taylor, the coxswain.
You'd remember, Barry, that another famous Burke rode out of UTS, Dan Burke, who was in the 2000 Olympic 8. I wonder if that's some relation. But I'll hand it over to you. Looks like a nice close race between the UTS crew and the Leichhardt crew.
This is a tremendous event coming down here now. Close racing with these 4 8s. 1, 2, 3, 4. They're all there. And I think just trying to figure out, it's difficult to pick out the colours from where we are up here.
Yeah, I think Barry, the UTS crew have got about a length ahead of the Leichhardt crew.
Yeah, well, the Leichhardt crew will be a Masters crew.
That's
very
right.
close.
Yeah.
They're racing extremely well. So Leichhardt 2, and it would be UTS in first place.
And then you're followed by the St. Augustine's crew,
And
which
St.
would be all the young
Augustine's,
fellas
yeah.
from the St. Augustine school.
Third,
Most of those boys would be 16, 17, 18-year-olds.
yeah, and the 4th place, that'd be the yellow colours over there, far side, right at the back. That's
Yeah.
Des Moines there.
Des Moines
yeah.
crew, yes. Des Moines over its time has filled in some pretty
Yeah.
impressive 8s.
Well, about 250 metres, 300 metres to go. And it's the crew from UTS leading there with Burke Rotley, etc. The coxswain there, Ryder Taylor, driving them hard. She's having to talk to them because of very blood of pressure coming from the Leichhardt crew. In 2nd place, Rob Gilmore, Edward Parmisano, and those I think there might even be a former world champion in that, or world champion representative. And Rob Coxar, Ruth Kelly, and a good crew that. And as you said right from the outset, close racing between those 2 crews. But I think, no doubt about it, UTS, as you might expect. They've got coaches over there, and as I think everybody knows that all the young guns from Mossman transferred across there, along with 2 great coaches. You know?
That's true.
Yeah, and they're world championship coaches, and they're now rowing over at under Tim Tim. I've not only said Tim Mackney.
No, Tim McLaren.
Tim McLaren. Yeah,
Right,
Tim McLaren.
So I think it's a great result there. We had two crews, two development crews from UTS and St Augustine's, split by the Leichhardt crew, the successful Masters crew that has won so many races last year and come back to training and just recently and
I think
found themselves picking up where they left off from last year.
I have a feeling that Pymble might have been drawn into that those two crews that you said. Pymble may have been in that pathway development.
Yes, that's right.
At Wells College.
That's right. Yeah. And that development work has been happening out of here for a long time.
Well, that's great.
Yeah. So. Well, it's been a wonderful regatta. It's a beautiful day. I mean,
fantastic day.
Thank the gods. Which gods will we thank today, Barry? I think God of fair weather. Artemisia, I think the name is.
We went over a lot of years.
Yes.
And the thing is about the weather.
That's right. And we are going to just before we finish off, we have one more race, which I think is a recognition of this being the 100-year anniversary of the JB Sharp, is to have boats, and I'd probably say if we collectively add the ages of those two boats together, they probably reach 100 years. Certainly, if you added the ages of all my rowers and my crew, we get to 100 years. But this is a really fantastic to see these boats back over the water, and there's great credit to the team from Leichhardt Rowing Club to restore these boats to their former glory. Hours and hours have gone into getting these boats ready for this particular race.
You know Rob Tiley?
Yeah, Rob was the one who done all the work. Yeah.
You
Rob turned up in his FX Holden this morning.
I know, he told me this morning,
yeah, very beautiful.
And FX Holden, one of the first Holden sedans, I think it's in the original colour, cream, I think.
That's right, he said that his COVID...
Original grill.
His COVID project was to respray the boats.
Yes.
So can we just ask for two volunteers just to head down to Leichhardt? Can we just have two volunteers to come down to the pontoon here to help just with some logistics? Very good, thank you very much. So here we have the two crews. The one crew there I can see is the Tub 4, Cox Tub 4, and then there's a Cox 4. The Cox 4 is the 1958 boat built by the Green. What's the Green's last name? First name, can't remember. But he preceded the Sargent and Burton stable, which is over there on the other side of the river there, and of course the Tub 4 is the Sargent and Burton boat, which was built somewhat later, and very much remember the model.
Gus Green
was his name. And I remember the model, that model. That was my first season of rowing was in a Tub 4, but just like that. So I think the ambition here is just to have a short row over. And I think the riders have promised not to pull too hard because we don't know what.
No, well, it's just a reminder too, as Andrew was saying, don't go just yet. Have a look at this old boat that has been restored back to its original glory, and a special occasion like the final regatta of the JB Sharp series, which has been running for 100 years, and it's going to be a row over to this magnificent Coxed quad. Or for whatever it's going to be, but they used to be used by the schools. Now the clubs have their tongues hanging out when they trade off their current models of full-oared boats or sculling boats, quad boats at the end of their seasons, because no one buys a timber quad scull anymore.
No, but again, like you said, I helped put these boats down on the water the other day, and to be really honest, I was bracing myself to move a heavy boat, and I'm surprised at how light they continue to be. From memory, they used to get a little bit heavy if they'd been used all the time because they'd be wet. But those boats are in really, really good condition. And thanks to Rob Tilley, he's done a great job there. So we're just waiting for the other crew. What would we call it? There's the Gus Green crew versus the Sargent and Burton crew. Maybe that's the way we can think about it.
Well, it's an antique.
They are. Well, they're both antiques, aren't they?
Yeah. That rowing machine that we were talking about that was prevalent in the late 50s and 60s.
Yeah.
I tried to flog that off to a museum, and they've got one in the Maritime Museum, but it's locked away in one of these storerooms.
Yeah, well.
But when anyone goes to look at it, they say no, thank you.
Yeah.
Very politely.
Well, they used to use those for, you used to have to do those machines. They were used. In fact,
I think Ted Curtin, the builder, John Harrison was the designer, and John was a professor at University of New South Wales.
Oh yeah.
Around about the same time that Forbes Carlyle was involved over there.
Yes.
And we had Forbes Carlyle.
Yeah, the famous swimming coach.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he's passed on now, but he's got the Ryde Swimming Centre. He used to have
That's
the Ryde
right.
Swimming Centre.
Yeah.
And
I used
we
to take
had
my kids there.
We had him down at one of those get-togethers, the New South Wales Union Rowers and the LEichhardt Union Rowers. We had them down here, and he spoke about the ways that they used to test a rower and see how they were doing. They thought that the generation of heat was a great substance and a support for a rower, and the way they used to check them is put a hypodermic needle into the thigh, the big muscle. And,
Sounds about right. Rowers have been guinea pigs for a long time, Barry.
yeah,
Like
they
the
have.
things that they've poked and
Yeah.
potted and done all sorts of things to the poor buggers.
Well, John,
Anyway, we can see here that we've got the Gus Green 4 coming up just to the start line. It seems to me that they're going to have about a 200-metre row through. And again, it's one of those important moments in our sport where we get to have rowers recreate an event from a long time past. And it's lovely to see that there's rowing in these boats, probably for the first time, and perhaps a little bit shocked at the difference in the type of equipment that they might be using. So we'll see how they handle those old McConnells there.
yeah, that boat that's coming down there now, that's a dark-coloured boat.
Yeah.
I don't know who's rowing in it, which club's rowing in it, but is that would be a 4?
Well, that's the Gus Green 4. That was one built in 1958. And in fact, there's a lot of really interesting stories, and I think probably I reckon Peter Kemp would give you a bit more information about that, about the types of wood that they use for these boats. And Australian cedar was famously used for many years.
Well, don't forget to go up to his museum.
Yeah, up in Hawkesbury.
Up in the Hawkesbury, yep, and it's absolutely fantastic. They're all over the place, these old sheds, and photographs going back to the days of the professional scullers, in fact.
Well, it was a sport in the day, wasn't it? You get 100,000 people lining the banks of Parramatta River, watching the old Merv Woods and Stuart Mackenzie. And
well, now, to be quite honest with you, Andrew, this looks like the America's Cup.
Oh,
it's a two-boat race.
When was the last time you watched the America's Cup?
I saw it last night.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive, isn't it? Yeah,
Australia, I think, are probably finding it too expensive to get involved.
Yeah, can't blame them for that.
Jeez. Italy.
So here we got there. It looks like they're lined up. I'm not sure what the BROs are doing. I think it might be just a gentleman's start here. It might be a fair way to put it. And they're all just going to have an agreement to start the race.
Well, which one would you prefer to begin as?
Oh, look, mate, I'm a sentimentalist. I'd go in the quad, the tub 4 any day.
Really?
That was my first season. Was as a rower in the tub 4. I loved the tub 4. It was a great experience, and to be honest, on a bit of rough weather, you never got too wet because the holes are sides are so high up. So a lot of fun. Here you go. It looks like they've got ready. They're lining up to start. And
Sargent and Burton built a tub pier.
Yes, they did too. Yeah.
That
Kennison Heaps used to like the tub pier. He
but
thought
this
it was a
tub
great
pier,
photo.
the sliding seat was static, and the things that moved
was the feet.
Was
Remember
the,
that?
the feet with the riggers. The
That's
riggers
right.
used to move as well.
They made one and a racing single version of that, and Tim McLaren had a crack at it, and he was so fast. He went off to I think it was the Nationals or something like that, and only took a few years before the rule makers got rid of those because they were so incredibly efficient. Yeah. Okay, I don't believe this. We've got a coxswain calling for. There we go. It looks like they might be starting there. Here we go. We've got to start in the race. I think this is a great opportunity. You can see here on the screen that the races are underway, and we've got it's just a really lovely row through, I think you could say, and some of these young rowers using McConnells for the first time ever. Something trying to work out how it works, getting used to the weight of those oars. I used to love rowing timber boats. Really used to enjoy it quite a lot. Mind you, went a lot faster.
Are they the tapered blade they're using in the tub?
No, they've got the old McConnells in the tub, and I think they've got the tapered blades in the floor there because that's the older boat. Anyway, funnily enough, there we go. We've got the lovely row through. They've got Frank McHugh in the bow seat of the tub 4 there, he would have also rode tub 4s when he was
Gee,
back
it's
in the
very
ring.
close. I thought you said Elton McPherson then.
Oh yeah, no, that's a different one.
It's so close, isn't it?
Yeah,
But
no,
it
that's
looks
a-
more graceful.
Yeah, and you do see that.
It looks graceful, doesn't it? See
Yeah.
a bow out of the water when the boat's rowing.
Yeah.
In
Oh,
fact,
it looks like they've had enough. There we go. So that's it, Barry. 100th anniversary
Yeah, no doubt
of
about it.
Baby Shark.
yeah,
100 years of racing. A magnificent finish to a magnificent day.
it has been wonderful, Andrew, and it's great
been
to
lovely
have,
to spend some time with you.
Yep.
And reminisce.
well, it's great to have met you too.
Yeah,
I
great
have
to
met
meet
you
you.
before, but pass on my best wishes to the Nevers.
I will do
Good
that.
on you.
I will do that. Okay, well, thank you very much,
All right,
Barry.
good.
We look forward to seeing you
Okay.
in another event on occasion.
And we should also say a big thank you to Barry Monahan for commentating for the series Centenary today, but also for all of the many years that he has been the voice behind the series, both online and at each regatta that he's been able to get to. It's been absolutely wonderful to have, the golden tonsils, the golden oars perhaps, commentating at the Centenary Regatta. I'd like to also say thank you very much to our sponsors, both Viva Energy Australia, who sponsored the series in its centenary year, and to Lursen Australia, the sponsor of the inaugural schoolboy and schoolgirl point score and shields that will be presented shortly at the presentations. So both Viva Energy Australia is our named sponsor, and Lursen is the sponsor of the inaugural schoolboy and schoolgirl point score. Thank you very much for your incredibly generous support. There's been some absolutely wonderful supporters of the series over the years, and we've been very, very grateful to see the continued support from organisations such as yourselves. There will shortly be a final presentation for all of the annual medals and trophies and shields at the upstairs section of the LEichhardt Rowing Club. So for all the rowers, once you've finished washing down your boats and you've put everything away, please make your way as soon as possible upstairs to the top of LEichhardt Rowing Club, where the presentations will occur. We will also be presenting the medals for today's regatta that have not yet been collected, and of course the scholarships and the bursaries that are generously provided by our sponsors. Thank you once again, and it's been a wonderful series.